Good Tuesday morning, everyone. As we are getting cranked up for the first round of the Alabama High School Athletic Association playoffs for classes 1A through 6A. As we mentioned yesterday on our weekly podcast, 7A is finishing up today or this week, excuse me. But man, we are going to go ahead and get cranked up here. Taking a look at all of the matchups in 1A through 6A. Just a couple things before I turn it over to Austin for him to say a couple words before we get started. A couple things. Number one, if you have not made your picks on the bracket challenge, this is a good reminder to do so while you're listening to the podcast. Might be a good time to do it. But again, those have to be in before the first games begin later this week. Which we'll talk about all of those games shortly. And that, that's the first thing, just a reminder for the bracket challenge. I know last year we had a ton of people get involved in that. It's a lot of fun. And second thing is, man, we understand that this is a very, very long podcast, and we are going to do our best to try to move through this as quickly as possible. We may not talk about players as much, but we're going to preview each matchup, give our predictions, and then try to roll 1A through 6A as quick as we can. And then as the playoffs get deeper, then we'll maybe go into detail with the teams more. But again, as I mentioned yesterday, grab a cup of coffee, kick back, listen, take a listen. But again, we're going to try to stay on task, on time as much as we can. Isn't that right, Austin?
Yep, that's right. I think I've already got my stuff packed because I know Dothan and Enterprise play at 4:30, and Dothan Enterprise play at 4:30 in Enterprise, and I'm going to make the 2-hour drive, so hoping we can be wrapped up here around 2 o'clock. So, but yeah, it's the best time of the year with postseason getting started, and if I will say we get a lot of not flack, but people we go to games and people don't know who we are. They just know who. They watch the podcast and they know we picked against them. So we give you the chance to kind of back that up. If you disagree with our picks with the bracket challenge, like you said, go ahead and get signed up for that. I know I forget what classification it is, but one of them's getting started on Wednesday. So in order to win, you got to have the most amount of points, and the way you get the most amount of points is being in all 7 classifications. So it's a quick turnaround. One classification will close tomorrow, so don't sit around on those picks and be sure to get in on the fun.
Yes, and with that being said, it's Austin and I are going to reveal our picks, and I can assure you, there's not one matchup that we care who wins. We're just doing this for fun, just like you are. We're not pulling for anybody. That's Caden Turner says Pleasant Valley is a top tier 2A very underrated. Well, hang loose, Caden, and we'll see who Austin and I picked as we get into it.
Got them ranked too.
Amen. They're ranked this week too. So we'll see if we picked them or not. But that'll get us moving in 1A. In each class, we're going to start with the north part of the bracket first, as we move through these. Our first matchup will be the Area 12 runner-up, Galesville. They come in with a record now, and we may not be 1,000% right on these records, but we're close. Galesville comes in with a record of 8-12. They will be on the road at Area 9 winner South Lamar, who come in with a record of 11-13. This series will get started on Friday at 2 o'clock. Now, all of these games that we're going to talk about, all of them, they all have a doubleheader on the first day of competition. And then on the second day will be the if necessary game. So that's our first matchup this week. South Lamar, they finished right outside the top 10 in 1A this year, in this past week. Austin, let me know what you're thinking this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go South Lamar here. I think South Lamar either made it to the second or third round of the playoffs last year. I think we had them in our top 10 to start the season. They won their area over Pickens Academy. I think they won it pretty easily. I'm going to go with South Lamar. I think some of the playoff experience over the past couple of years will help them out. I'm going to go South Lamar in our first matchup in 1A.
I'm going to do the same with you there. And for the same reason you mentioned, I think there's playoff experience matters. And that's the reason I'm going to go with South Lamar as well. So we both go South Lamar there. Our next matchup in 1A will be the Area 14 runner-up, Athens Bible. They finished runner-up there. They finished with a 13-6 record. They are on the road to Eider, a team that seemed to get really hot late in the season. They won Area 15. They come in with a record of 16-9. This one will get started with the doubleheader on Friday at 4:30. This one could be a pretty intriguing matchup. Austin, I'm gonna let Austin go first here.
I'm going Eider. And Eider, I think, got off to I think they won their first, I want to say 14 or 15. They had a really good record right out of the gate. They ended up winning that area over Skyline. I think they went undefeated during area play. But you look at Athens Bible, they finished runner up to Addison. I think they got swept by Addison, split with Meek in their area series, but won the deciding game 3. I just think Addison, we moved them up to number 5 in our most recent 1A poll. And I think that kind of down the stretch, I think they've beaten Hackleburg, who we have number 1. They've beaten Lynn. They've beaten some other good teams. I'm gonna take got mixed up. I'm gonna go Eider. I'm going Eider in this matchup.
Yep, gotcha. Both of these teams finished right outside of our top 10. I'm gonna side with Austin there. I'm gonna go with Eider as well. I do want our listeners to know that me and Austin do not know who each other picked, so we could have every one of them the same. We could be different. I don't know. Austin and I have a little. We've got a little. There's Julie Rogers again. She's becoming a frequent follower.
Lower Alabama.
Jackson,
Alabama.
Jackson,
Alabama.
I got you. I'm Austin and I have a little, not a bet, but we have competition here. So we're trying to win these. We're not trying to side and, just pick sides to side with these people or whatever. We're trying to win as well. But we'll move on in 1A. Our next one is the Area 16 runner-up Shoals Christian. They finished at 6-11. They will be on the road to number 1 Hackleburg. Hackleburg finished the season with a record of 23-5, and have been in the top 2 or 3 all year for us. I'm gonna go ahead and give my pick here, Austin.
You can roll into your pick, and I'll go last.
I'm gonna go Hackleburg, man. I think us ranking them where we've ranked them all year tells you what we think about them. Shoals Christian is a quality opponent. Not the record is not great, but again, I expect Hackleburg to roll this weekend, possibly in 2 games.
Yeah, I do too. Number 1 in Class 1A, and maybe crazy to have them picked out of the first round in Class 1A. I'm going to go with Hackleburg. They've been strong all year long. I think they've got 23-5 record. They played some good teams. I'm going to go Hackleburg here to advance, and along with the playoff experience over the past couple of years, I'm going to go with Hackleburg as well.
Yeah, I think Hackleburg's set up for a deep run. We'll move to our next matchup. We have another ranked team in this matchup. We've got the Area 10 runner-up Berry. Berry comes in with a record of 11-8. They are on the road at the winners of Area 11. That's Appalachian. Appalachian finished number 2 with a 21-3 record. So you've got 1 and 2 here back to back. And I hate to look ahead, but what could be coming in the following week. But Appalachian. Berry is on the road at Appalachian. Man, listen, we've got Appalachian number 2. I'm going to say the same thing as we said for Hackleburg. I'm not going to pick against our number 2 team in the state here. I think Appalachian rolls this weekend, and I think that sets up a big-time matchup next week. Again, don't want to look ahead. I know coaches don't either, but could be pretty interesting if things play out like they're supposed, like they may.
Yeah, I'm siding with Appalachian as well. That they won the state championship 2 years ago in Class 1A. They were actually tested in area play. Them and Coosa Christian headed into the final week in an area championship. Coosa Christian made it to at least the Elite 8, I know, last year. But those 2 teams, Appalachian and Coosa Christian, split that first those first 2 games, with Appalachian winning the deciding game 3. So Appalachian's been tested a little bit heading into postseason play. So I'm going with Appalachian to get the first round win and set up a potential big time matchup in the second round.
That's right. Moving right along, we have another ranked team in this matchup. First off, you've got the Area 11 runner-up, Coosa Christian. They come in with a record of 11-11. They sit right outside of our top 10. Basically, I think they finished 12-11. They sit right outside of our top 10. They, as I mentioned, they finished runner-up in Area 11. They're on the road at number 10, Hubbardville, the winners of Area 10. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. I think this could be a really interesting matchup. I think this could very easily go 3 games. But man, I'm changing my pick as we go through this. I'm going to change my pick, and I'm going with Hubbardville at home against Coosa Christian. This could be one of the better matchups in 1A this week.
Yeah, no doubt. Hubbardville's kind of that team. They were outside the top 10 for the majority of the season, Class 1A, and just continued to just have a really good season throughout down the stretch, especially. They went obviously having a 15-5 record. They won their record over Berry, I think, sweeping through that area. But then you look at Coosa Christian with making that deep playoff run, like I just mentioned. In the last matchup, Coosa Christian had I think it made to the Elite Eight a season ago. They even, like I mentioned, split that area series with Appalachian, our number 2 team in Class 1A. I'm going to go with Coosa Christian, who kind of struggled out of the gate, didn't have a great record. We had them ranked in our preseason poll. I think they made their way back down the stretch with a couple weeks to play in the regular season. Ultimately finished outside the top 10. But I'm gonna side with Coosa Christian here. Like I agree with what you said. I think this could be one of the better. This probably is one of the best series in Class 1A this week. So I'm gonna go Coosa Christian to go on the road to Hubbardville and get to advance to the Sweet 16 in 1A.
And that takes us to our next matchup. This matchup will get started on Friday at 4:30, and that is Area 13 runner-up Lynn, coming with an impressive record of 16-9. And you look and you think, man, that's a runner-up. Yeah, they finished runner-up to Hackleburg in that Area 13. Again, the number 1 ranked team in 1A. They are on the road at the winners of Area 16, Covenant Christian. Covenant Christian comes in with a record of 6-13, but they won those important games to win the area championship. Again, this one will get started on Friday at 4:30. Man, I'm going with the road team here. I'm going with Lynn. Finishing runner-up to Hackleburg. That's no slouch whatsoever. Lynn has also been there. They've made some runs in the past. I think Lynn goes on the road and gets a win over Covenant Christian. Again, that's maybe an upset, maybe not. I don't think you term that an upset. I guess obviously being on the road, you sort of feel like an underdog, but give me Lynn.
Yep, I'm taking Lynn as well, going on the road. We had them ranked as high as maybe 5th or 6th at one point in the season in our Class 1A top 10. Kind of speaks to the strength of how strongly we thought of Lynn. And then just to, it's unfortunate circumstance finishing runner-up, but that was to, like you said, the number 1 team in Hackleburg. So I'm going to go with Lynn to go on the road up to North Alabama to Covenant Christian and advance to the Sweet 16 as well.
Our next matchup will feature Skyline. They are the runners-up in Area 15. They finished runner-up to Ider. They come in with a record of 7-7. They're on the road at the winners of Area 14, Addison. They were able to defeat Athens Bible to win that area. Addison comes in with a record of 20-8, and they are currently ranked number 5 in our 1A poll. This was a team in Addison that we watched about halfway point through the season on through the rest of the season. We actually were contacted by a high school coach and said, man, that's a really good 1A team in Addison. And so we took note of that and followed them. And man, I like Addison. I hate to use the word dark horse, but I like Addison to possibly to be around for a long time. Give me Addison this week.
Yep, I mentioned Addison a few matchups ago. I like Addison as well, moving them up to number 5 in our final 1A poll. Kind of speaks to the strength, that speaks to how highly we think of Addison down the stretch. I don't think they were ranked until a few weeks ago, but wins over Hackleburg and Lynn down the stretch, and some other quality lower classification teams kind of makes it seem like Addison's playing really well down the stretch, like one of the top 1A teams. So I'm rolling with Addison as well to get the first round victory at home over Skyline.
And I don't think I mentioned this. That series gets cranked up on Thursday. That it gets cranked up at Thursday at 4:30. Our last matchup in the 1A north part of the bracket, you've got the Area 9 runner-up Pickens Academy. They come in with a record of 12-12 after finishing runner-up to South Lamar. They are on the road at Area 12 winner Spring Garden, who defeated Galesville to wrap up that area. Spring Garden comes in with a record of 17-8, and they sit right outside of our top 10. Spring Garden is one of those 1A schools that you can always look to and know that, you know, they're going to be around in 1A. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen this year, but from a historical standpoint and just, you know, playoff being, you know, just the playoff moxie, give me Spring Garden at home this week to defeat Pickens Academy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm rolling with Spring Garden. Like you said, a consistent power in Class 1A over the last decade, it feels like. And I like them in their first round matchup over Pickens Academy. They were probably the number 11 team. Them and Hubbardville, we kind of discussed on that final 10th spot in our final 1A poll. Ultimately gave it to Hubbardville, but Spring Garden, like you said, having a 17-8 record, have been playing strong baseball all season long. I like them to advance as well in their first round matchup.
I failed to mention again, that series gets started Friday at 4:30. So now we'll flip to the south portion of the 1A bracket. This series will get started on Thursday at 1 o'clock. This is Thursday at 1 o'clock. You've got the Area 4 runner-up, Choctaw County. They come in with a record of 5-7. They are on the road at the winners of Area 1, Milry. Milry comes in with a record of 22-8 and a number 3 ranking in our last 1A poll. I think they were ranked pretty much all year long. Again, this is a notoriously strong 1A power. I think Milry handles business this week. I like Milry in the southern part of that bracket to make a run. Give me Milry to move on to round 2.
Yep, I'm taking Milry as well. It was kind of highlighted throughout the back half of the season. Milry and Leroy in that same area down in Lower Alabama. Milry, I think, they both split those first 2 games, with Milry winning the deciding game 3 to wrap up that area championship and ultimately hosting this first round matchup. That kind of speaks to the strength of Milry. Like you said, we've had them ranked in the top 10 consistently all year long. They finished at number 3, have over 20 wins. Give me Milry as well to advance to the second round.
Our next matchup is one I went back and forth on. It is the Area 6 runner-up, Maplesville. They come in with a record of 9-16. They are on the road this week at the winners of Area 7. That's Autauga Academy. Autauga Academy finished the season with a 10-15 record. They did defeat Verbena to wrap up that 1A Area 7 title. This series will also get started Thursday, but it'll get started at 4:30. Again, man, this is one I went back and forth on. And when that happens, when I think there's 2 fairly evenly matched teams, I like to go with the home team. And that's what I did here. Maybe an upset, I don't know. But I'm going to go with Autauga Academy to slip by Maplesville by the slimmest of margins to advance to round 2.
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to go with the road team. I'm going to go Maplesville. Another consistently strong program in Class 1A. They finished like I said, they finished as the runner-up in their area, but that was to Billingsley. who's also a consistent power in that classification. Kind of came down to the last week to decide the area championship between those two teams. But also a Taga Academy win in that area. I'm going to go, and I think Maplesville has played like, I know I want to say they played, I think it was either Trinity or Holtville the other day. They've played some quality teams, higher classification teams. I think that pays off here, especially in this first round matchup. I'm going to go with Maplesville going on the road. And what could be a very, very close series, one that could go back and forth, but ultimately I'm going to go with Maplesville. So that's our first series where we're splitting teams. So
I'm glad of that. I mean, again, I'm trying to win. You are too, but I like to be a little different as well. That'll take us to our next matchup. This one will get started on Thursday as well at 4:00. You've got Area 8 runner-up Woodland. They come in with a record of 7-14. They are on the road at the winners of Area 5. That's University Charter. University Charter comes in with a record of 13-8. And they've been on the cusp of being ranked pretty much all year long. They finished the season ranked right outside the top 10. And I think that tells you, how we feel about University Charter. I think that's a team that could be a sleeper in the southern part of the 1A bracket. I'm going to go University Charter at home this week to advance over Woodland.
I'm going to go University Charter as well, but I think Woodland, I don't think they have. Do you have their record? Did you say their record?
Yeah, Woodland is 7-14.
Okay, so I don't think it's a great record, but they finished runner-up to Fayetteville, and I think they split the first two games. I think they took one from Fayetteville. I want to say it was game 1 or 2. So Woodland's shown the ability to beat a quality opponent in Fayetteville, but ultimately I think University Charter is a bit too much here in the first round, going on the road, especially in a 3-game series. I'm going to go with University Charter as well to advance.
And that'll take us to our next matchup. And these are two teams that we have had inside our top 10 or right outside all year. And that is Area 2 runner-up Kingston. Kingston comes in with a record of 11-5. They finished runner-up. And I think it was I think Kingston and Florala split first 2 games. Florala had to win a game 3. That tells you how good Kingston is, because we obviously have had Florala highly ranked all year. They come in with a record of 11-5, as I said, after finishing runner-up in Area 2. They are on the road at Brantley. Brantley comes in with a record of 14-2 and with a number 9 ranking, with a number 9 ranking in our last Class 1A poll. This is another matchup. I believe this is one of the more intriguing matchups in 1A as well. We mentioned that earlier about a previous one. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. Man, this is another one I went back and forth. A lot of times it's easy to go with that 15-2 team in Brantley. You look at Kingston with the runner-up spot, but again, you got to look. That runner-up was to Florala. They pushed them to 3 games. Man, I tell you, another one I went back and forth on, but eventually I sided again with the home team. I went with Brantley. I believe it's the Bulldogs, maybe wrong.
I think so.
Went with Brantley to escape round 1. And again, I think this one is an intriguing one to keep eyes on in 1A.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brantley as well. Kingston actually won the first game against Florala. But Florala was able to win that doubleheader on, I think it was Saturday. So Kingston's shown they can beat a quality team in Florala. Obviously, I think they have a really good record, and then they snuck them in the outside the top 10 this week. But Brantley's a team who comes in with, I think it's a 15-2 record. They're number 9. They could possibly they have an argument to possibly even be higher. Another consistent 1A power. So I'm going to go with Brantley as well, but definitely could see this series being a very tightly contested series in Class 1A.
Our next series will get started on Friday at 1:00, and that's Area 3 runner-up Red Level, who come in with a record of 10-8, and they are at the winners of Area 2, the aforementioned Florala Wildcats. I believe that's right. If I'm wrong, I'm sure they'll let me know.
Yes.
Yep. They're at Area 2 winner Florala. Florala comes in ranked number 6 with a 15-7 record. We saw them early in the year at our small town showdown. We obviously know that they are a very good team. Again, they'll be hosting Red Level this week. Red Level finished runner-up in Area 3. Man, I think there's too much firepower in that Florala lineup. I'm going to go Florala at home. And I think that Florala may have a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth from last year. I think they got beat maybe Elite 8. I may be wrong. They were set up to go deep, and it happens in playoff baseball. But I think Florala, after seeing them this early this season at the Small Town Showdown, I like that team. I'm going to go with Florala.
I'm going for Florala as well. They had a real chance to win it last year. Ultimately, fell up short. I think they were dealing with some injuries in that final series where they were eliminated. Like you said, possibly maybe not a sour taste in their mouth, but coming back for trying to get some revenge, and they have a real chance, another really good chance this year to win it in Class 1A. Led by some really strong components offensively and on the mound. They're fairly balanced. I'm going to go Florala as well.
And that'll take us to our next matchup in 1A, and that is the Area 5 runner-up Keith. Keith comes in with a record of 3-3. They finished runner-up to University Charter, as we discussed earlier. They are on the road at Fayetteville. Fayetteville finished the season ranked number 7 with an 18-9 record. Again, they are on the road they're hosting Keith this week. This series starts on Friday at 2. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't mean anything disrespectful towards Keith, but Fayetteville, I like them big this weekend. Fayetteville is a team to keep an eye on. We noticed them about halfway through the season. I think it's a team that can really do some damage. You mentioned they won that area over Woodland, but I really like Fayetteville. I like them fairly easy this week.
Yeah, Fayetteville, like you said, is definitely I don't want to call them a sleeper because we've had them ranked inside the top 6 or 7 all season long. But Fayetteville moving down from Class 2A this year to Class 1A, and they were a solid club in Class 2A for the last few years. Them and Vincent going head to head in that area over the past few years. Moving down to Class 1A only helps them bringing back some, and I think that they brought back a lot of their pieces from those teams this year. I think Fayetteville has a chance to make a deep run. Ultimately, I'm going to go with them taking this first round matchup over Keith as well.
Our next matchup, Verbena. They finished runner-up in Area 7. They are on the road. They come in with a 10-11 record. They're on the road at Area 6 winners Billingsley. Billingsley comes in with a 17-7 record and a number 8 ranking in our final 1A poll. This series will get started on Thursday at 5 o'clock. That's Thursday at 5. This is another case where I think it's just too much Billingsley. Verbena, I think they've played some pretty quality clubs throughout the season. It wouldn't surprise me if these are some very, competitive games, but man, give me Billingsley. Again, that's another small town, a small school power. I like Billingsley here to advance to round 2.
Yeah, I'm siding with Billingsley as well. Another top program consistently in Class 1A, especially over the last few years, and winning the area over Maplesville. I think I picked Maplesville in that matchup, so ultimately I'm going to back the area winner, especially from after picking Maplesville. I'm going to go with Billingsley to advance to the Sweet 16 in 1A as well.
And our final 1A matchup is one of those top 2 or 3 matchups that we've talked about this week. I really believe this is an interesting one to follow. You've got the Area 1 runner-up Leroy. They come in with a record of 20-7 and a number 4 ranking. Again, we've talked about it. They finished runner-up to Milry, and there's no slouch whatsoever in that. They are on the road at the winners of Area 4 Sweetwater. Sweetwater comes in with a record of 13-13. 13-14. My apologies. They sit right outside of the top 10. These are 2 historically. I think we've been saying that a lot here of late. Both of these are 2 historically small school powers. this is one that I think I spent more time on this pick than I did any other because, again, I think it's easy to go with Leroy with that number 4 ranking and those 20 wins. But in what might be an upset, maybe I'm calling my first upset of the week. Man, I'm going to go with Sweetwater, and I think being at home, that's going to be a big environment. No disrespect to Leroy. I mean, you see where we have them ranked. I'm going to go maybe with an upset this week. Give me a Sweetwater to pull an upset in 1A.
I was going to pick the opposite of what you picked. I was going to be completely fine picking Sweetwater, and I was going to be completely fine picking Leroy. So I'm going to go with Leroy. I've been inside the top 5 all year long. They went 1-4 this past week, but those don't let that record fool you. They played Orange Beach and Robertsdale and another high classification team in the southern part of the state, and all 3 of those losses were by 1 run. They split that series to Millery and lost the deciding game 3. That's how they're on the road. So I'm going to go with Leroy to go on the road, and I agree. Like you, could be going to be a very competitive series. Obviously, going on the road against the defending Class 1A state champions is certainly no easy task. But I'm going to go with Leroy here to go on the road and take care of business in 2 out of 3 against Sweetwater. And I'll get us going. I'll give you a little break. We'll alternate introducing each classification. So I'll get us going here in Class 2A. We'll start in the north where we have the Area 12 runner-up, West End. They'll be traveling on the road to Vincent, the Area 9 winner. West End comes in with a 10-15 record. Vincent is 21-5. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30 at Vincent High School. How can you not? Can't go against Vincent, our number 1 team, seemingly for the entire back half of the season. They are a very balanced team with really good pitching, a balanced lineup. They've have consistently made deep runs, especially with this class, this 25 and a few 26s and 27. Especially this 25 class that they have has made deep runs. 2 years ago, they finished as the runner-up in Class 2A. Last year, I think they made at least the Elite 8, maybe possibly the Final 4. I'm going to go with Vincent to advance to the next round.
I am as well. I think fairly convincingly as well. Those frontline arms are going to be tough for anybody to deal with in 2A. You got to go into series knowing you're probably not going to score a lot of runs on Vincent, and they've got a fairly formidable offensive lineup as well. Listen, we've had a 1, 2, or 3 all year long, maybe 1 or 2 all year long. Give me the Yellow Jackets. Really impressed with them. I like them to advance to round 2.
Yeah, they've been 1 or 2 all year long. So
yeah.
Our next matchup, you've got the Area 14 runner-up, Belgreen. They'll be traveling on the road to North Sand Mountain. Belgreen is 11-10. North Sand Mountain winners of their Area 15. They come in with a 19-8 record. This series will get started as well on Friday at 4:30 at North Sand Mountain. North Sand Mountain, we had kind of snuck in a few weeks ago in our rankings. Didn't have a great week I think they went 1-4, but still come into the playoffs with a great record, a 19-8 record. Belgreen finishing, I think it's the runner-up to Mars Hill. Certainly, no shame in that. Mars Hill being a really good team, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. But ultimately, I'm going to side with the home team in North Sand Mountain. Have really had strong seasons. Of the past 2 to 3 years, have really seemed to get that program rolling. I'm going to go with North Sand Mountain to get a first round win over Belgreen.
Yeah, I am as well. At one point in the season, North Sand Mountain had won 12, 13 games in a row, scuffled a bit late, but that's not always bad for a team. And again, that's no disrespect to them, but they lost some games later in the season. I guess, that's what happens when you get an area play, but I think that's a fairly complete club. I like North Sand Mountain this week as well, just like you, Austin.
And that will move us to our next matchup in Class 2A, maybe one of the sneakier competitive matchups in Class 2A this week. May not have the highly ranked teams, but two who we feel like evenly matched teams. You've got the Area 16 runner-up in Lindsay Lane Christian, who come in with a 17-14 record. They will be traveling on the road to the Area 13 winner. That's Pleasant Valley. Lindsay Lane Christian finished the season right outside the top 10 in our Class 2A poll. And we talked about it yesterday. They faced Decatur Heritage Christian, who we have at number 5 in our Class 2A poll, in the last week of area for the area championship. They split the first 2 games, and Decatur Heritage, I think, won a pretty closely contested game 3 to wrap up that area. But Lindsay Lane played them tough all series long. You look at Pleasant Valley, kind of won that area with relative ease. I'm kind of interested to see who you're going to pick, but I'm going to side with Pleasant Valley. We've heard a lot of good things about Pleasant Valley, especially down the stretch. Snuck them in at number 10 in the final 2A poll. Have a 16-10 record. They'll be at home. The series, if I failed to mention, will get started on Friday at 4:30. But I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go Pleasant Valley.
Man, it's pretty interesting that we both feel this way about this series. You talked about it. Lindsay Lane, pushing Decatur Heritage to 3 games, with those arms at Decatur Heritage. And I know that Lindsay Lane, none of us know how far that their run's going to go this year, but I do know that they're pretty loaded with a lot of underclassmen. So this is a team that you've got to, and listen, who knows how far they're getting this year? I mean, none of us do, but this is a team that you've got to follow over the course of the next few years, because they're depending on some 8th and 9th graders, and that's only going to help them down the road. This was another one I went back and forth on. I'm going to go Lindsay Lane, man. I don't know. Just a hunch. I don't know. I know Pleasant Valley's played a tough schedule to prepare them for this. I'm not going to be surprised in the least bit if Pleasant Valley wins this, but I'm going to go Lindsay Lane. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sort of happy for that. And me and Austin aren't getting together on you pick them, I pick them. But I'm glad that we're splitting this one, because I think it's that type of series in 2A. But I'm gonna go with Lindsay Lane. You're going to go with Pleasant Valley. We'll see how it shakes out.
Our next matchup in Class 2A in the North, we have the Area 10 runner-up Lamar County, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 11 winner. That's Christian. Lamar County enters the playoffs with a 7-13 record. Summerton Christian is 20-6. Summerton Christian jumped up from number 4, I believe, to number 2 in the final Class 2A poll. We talked about it yesterday, have really played well down the stretch. I think they've lost 1 game since our small town showdown about a month and a half ago. There's our Summerton, man, that Summerton Christian group last year. They tagged along with us on our podcast, and I think they're back again this year. But they should, because I think Summerton Christian has a chance to make another deep run. The defending Class 1A state champs, they've jumped up to Class 2A this year and haven't seemed to really skip a beat. They've got plenty of talent, a bunch of guys who are back from that state championship team last year. I'm going to go Summerton Christian in this matchup.
I agree 100%. It's a team that can win the whole thing after, as you mentioned, winning 1A last year. They have won a ton of games in a row. And I know Coach Bowen at Summerton Christian is not going to like me saying all this, but man, that's you don't want to put the monkey on somebody's back, but that's a team that can win the whole thing. I like them fairly easy this week to advance to round 2. Give me Summerton Christian.
Our next matchup in the North in Class 2A, you have the Area 11 runner-up Cold Springs, who will be traveling on the road to Red Bay, the Area 10 winner. Cold Springs has an 11-14 record. Red Bay enters at 19-6, and with a number 6 ranking in the final 2A poll. The series gets started on Friday at 4:30. Red Bay making, I don't want to say it was surprising to us, because to be honest, I mean, last year Red Bay kind of came out of nowhere for us, but I think they made it to the Final Four and got beat by Mars Hill in the Final Four. But and we've certainly paid attention to Red Bay this year. Red Bay, obviously winning that area, have played a strong schedule. I think they played Russellville a few times up in North Alabama. They played some good teams. I'm going to go with Red Bay here to try and replicate last year's deep playoff run and make a potential push to Jacksonville and Oxford in Class 2A.
Agree completely. I'm going Red Bay. You mentioned it. It won't be under the radar this year. Again, they called us under the radar last year. I know last year they were playing with a bunch of sophomores. I believe it was a sophomore heavy group last year. I know it was a younger group. I'm not exactly sure the class, but they're 18-7, as you mentioned. Played a pretty tough schedule there. I like Red Bay this week to advance, and you know what? Could set up a big time matchup next week.
Yep, no doubt. And that matchup would be between the winner of our next matchup. You have the Area 13 runner-up Cedar Bluff, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 16 winner Decatur Heritage Christian. Cedar Bluff comes in with an 18-11 record, but I think that record they had to forfeit 4 or 5 area games down the stretch. So that record is better than what it is on the field. They just had to forfeit some games late down the stretch. So playing going on the road to, like I said, Decatur Heritage, the Eagle, I think they're the Eagles. They come in with a 21-5 record. They rank number 5 in our final Class 2A poll. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30. This is another sneaky good matchup. Cedar Bluff, I think they finished, like I said, with what should be a 19-8 record is what we have it at, but had to forfeit those games, like I said. So Decatur Heritage played a formidable opponent right out of the gate, but ultimately, like you've mentioned, Decatur Heritage arms a few minutes ago. I'm going to go with Decatur Heritage to get a first round win over Cedar Bluff.
Yeah, I'm going Decatur Heritage. I saw them 3 weeks ago or so. Very impressed with. I mean, 2A, man, there were no easy punch outs in that lineup. The middle of that order can swing it. Got a couple guys at the bottom of that order that can turn the order over, get back to the top of the lineup. Some guys that can run in the bottom half of that bottom half of that lineup. We've already talked about their arms. I like Decatur Heritage this week, and I think that's probably a team that is playing with a chip on their shoulders. Well, I think maybe they had a first round exit last year.
Yep, I think you're right. First or second round.
And I'll be honest with you, with the team they're playing this year in the first round, I'm sure they don't need to be motivated because they know that Cedar Bluff is coming in as a quality opponent. So I think Decatur Heritage will not overlook anybody.
Our next matchup, we have the Area 15 runner-up, Pisgah, who will be traveling on the road to Mars Hill Bible, the Area 14 winner. Pisgah comes in with an 8-10 record. Mars Hill Bible finished the season at number 7 in our final 2A poll with a 16-11 record. Series gets started on Friday at 4. Mars Hill Bible, obviously being last year's Class 2A runner-up to Ayrton. I think too much Mars Hill Bible. Consistent power in Class 2A. I like them to get a sweep here in 2 games over Pisgah to advance to the next round.
I have to agree with you again. And when we say this, it's no disrespect towards anyone, but Mars Hill Bible is just that they are solid, well coached. Again, they made it to the finals last year. I'm sure they had their sights set on the same goals to get back to Jacksonville and maybe hope for a different outcome. But I'm going to go Mars Hill this week as well.
Yeah. And then our final matchup in the North in Class 2A pits Westminster Oak Mountain, the Area 9 runner-up, traveling on the road to the Area 12 winner. That's Southeastern. Westminster Oak Mountain enters the playoffs with an 11-11 record. Southeastern is also at 500, sitting with a 10-10 record. The series gets started on Friday at 2:00. This is another sneaky matchup as well. Westminster Oak Mountain finished as the runner-up to Vincent, our number 1 team in Class 2A. No shame in that. And I think that they've beaten I know they've beaten Altamont, a really good higher classification team. Southeastern winning that area over West End. I don't know if you would call this an upset, but I'm going to switch. I think I'm switching my pick. I'm going to go with Westminster Oak Mountain to go on the road here on Friday and get 2 out of 3 over Southeastern.
Whoa. All right. We're going to split on this one because I'm going to go Southeastern. Southeastern was a team that we had ranked pretty much all year last year. I forget how far they went. But I think, again, but I do agree with you. I think if Westminster of Oak Mountain goes on the road and wins, I do think you would term it an upset. But I think it's a series that could go either way. But like I said, 9 times out of 10 with those series, I'm going to go with the home team. So I'm going to split with you here. I'm going to go with Southeastern to advance this weekend.
And that moves us to the south, where we have our first matchup, the Area 4 runner-up, Ayrton, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 1 winner in Bayshore Christian. Ayrton enters the playoffs with a 22-8 record and a number 4 ranking in the final 2A poll. They've either been 1 or 2 all season long. Bayshore Christian, who was inside the top 10 for the first part of the season, ultimately fell out after struggling a little bit down the middle part of the season, but have seemed to pick back up their stride down the stretch. They enter the season with a 12-13 record. I know they beat Bayside Academy yesterday in a final tune-up for the playoffs. The series gets started on Friday at 4:30. Probably one of the better, if not the best, matchup in Class 2A this week. Ayrton obviously finished losing that series 2 out of 3 to GW Long. Bayshore Christian. I'm going to go with Ayrton. I think I picked Ayrton to start, and I'm going to stick with Ayrton. Bayshore Christian proved us wrong last year. I know they proved me wrong, advancing to the later rounds. I think they beat GW Long in the deep rounds of the playoffs. But I'm going to side with Ayrton here. We've had them 1 or 2 all year long. It's going to be a tough task going south on the road to Bayshore Christian, but I like the Purple Cats to start their quest to defend their Class 2A state championship.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. This is a toughie, man, and you're right. You know, last year I think we both picked against Bayshore like the first 2 weeks. I know this is a mega matchup right out of the get-go in the first round. I love that Bayshore Christian roster. They've got some firepower in that offensive lineup. And as you mentioned, they seem to be hitting their stride now, but I can't go against the Purple Cats. I mean, I could. I shouldn't say it that way, but I'm going to go with Ayrton. You mentioned that moxie of going deep last year. Bayshore Christian can say the same thing, winning it all last year. Ayrton, man, this is a big-time matchup. But I'm going to side with Ayrton, who, by the way, I do have to say this. Bayshore was in our preseason, or not preseason. They were in our small town showdown this year, and Ayrton has already agreed to be in it next year. So, that's good to know. Getting these quality teams in that small town showdown. Love to see them have success. But I'm going to go with the road team here, barely, with Ayrton. Bayshore Christian, I don't hope it, but you have every opportunity to prove us wrong again. But again, this is a mega matchup in round 1, and a team that could eventually win it all is not going to be playing after this matchup.
Our next matchup, you've got the Area 6 runner-up at Tuscaloosa Academy, who will be traveling on the road to Lochapoka, the Area 7 winner. No, that's mixed up. You've got Tuscaloosa Academy will be hosting Lochapoka in this first round matchup. Tuscaloosa Academy enters with an 11-17 record. Lochapoka, who will be on the road, comes in with an 8-3 record this series. And this is that one series, like I said previously, will get started on Wednesday. So for all those people wanting to create a Class 2A bracket, you'll have to get it in tomorrow. I think Wednesday tomorrow at 1 p.m. will be the cutoff to where you can submit brackets for Class 2A. I'm going to go Tuscaloosa Academy here pretty convincingly. I think Tuscaloosa Academy, they struggled out of the stretch, but had some, we talked about yesterday, had some basketball players that were just getting back. They really seemed to hit their stride down the stretch. I'm going to go Tuscaloosa Academy here in this first round matchup.
I'm going to do the same. That's a team that has, as you mentioned, they have righted the ship. And you have already mentioned it. That was partly getting their basketball players back. I think they got beat in the state finals, I believe. I may be wrong. But that is a team, Tuscaloosa Academy. Tuscaloosa Academy is a team that has righted the ship, basically. So I'm going with Tuscaloosa Academy just like you. I like them pretty convincingly this week. I'm not leaving you, Austin. I've just got to plug my computer back in. You can go and get started with the next matchup.
All good. Our next matchup in the South, you've got the Area 8 runner-up Horseshoe Bend, who will be on the road traveling to the Area 5 winner in Highland Home. Horseshoe Bend comes in with a 7-11 record. Highland Home comes in with an 8-5 record. The series gets started on Friday at 4. I'm going to go with this is a back and forth series, I think you could possibly say, but I'm going to go with Highland Home being at home. what are they? The Flying Squadrons.
The Flying Squadron. That's right.
Shout out Willie.
I'm about to say, she even mentioned Roll Tide Willie. Will Roll Tide Willie be there?
Yeah. I'm going Highland home here at home in this first round matchup.
I'm going to side with you as well. Again, I think it's two teams very similar, but I'm going home team. Give me Highland home at home to win.
In our next matchup in the South, you've got the Area 2 runner-up Geneva County. They'll be traveling on the road to Pike Liberal Arts. The Area 3 winner. This series gets started on Friday at 4. Geneva County enters the playoffs with an 8-11 record. Pike Liberal Arts enters the playoffs with a 14-13 record and a final ranking in the Class 2A poll at number 9. I'm going to go with Pike Liberal Arts. They've shown making the transition a couple years ago, making the transition over from the AISA ranks to the AHSAA ranks fairly well. They've made a pair of deep playoff runs in Class 2A, and I like them. It looks like they're possibly shaping up for another one here in 2025. Give me Pike Liberal Arts to advance out of this first round matchup.
I agree with you completely. Pike Liberal Arts strength of schedule has been impressive. We've had them ranked. They're at number 9 right now with a 14-13 record. Again, scheduling by coaches that get their teams prepared plays off in the end. Give me Pike Lib.
And in our next matchup, you have Zion Chapel, the Area 3 runner-up, who will be traveling on the road to Cottonwood, the Area 2 winner. Zion Chapel enters the playoffs with an 11-13 record. Cottonwood enters the playoffs with a 17-5 record and a final ranking in the Class 2A poll at number 8. They made their way in, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and have enjoyed a steady ascend up the polls to number 8. Seem to be playing some really good baseball down the stretch. This series gets started on Friday at 4. I'm going to go Cottonwood here. I think they've got a pair of arms at the top of that rotation, led by Braylon Morris, Austin Miller as well. I think they find enough offense as well behind that pitching to get a first-round win over Zion Chapel.
I agree with you. I think Cottonwood is a team to be reckoned with in 2A South. I think it's a fairly convincing win this weekend. I like them to advance and, again, possibly set themselves up for a deep run in the 2A bracket in the South.
Yep. Our next matchup, you've got the Area 5 runner in Central Haneyville, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 8 winner in Ranburne. Central Haneyville enters the playoffs with a 6-2 record. Ranburne enters with a 12-15 record. Central Haneyville finished as the runner-up to Highland home, I believe, with Ranburne winning that area over Horseshoe Bend. This series gets started on Friday at 4. I'm going to go with the home team in Ranburne. I think they find a way to get 2 out of 3. Give me Ranburne here to advance to the second round.
Agree. And I've already said this twice. I don't want you to think that I'm just agreeing with Austin, but, there are some that we think.
Making good picks.
Yeah, I guess I'm making good picks if I'm following your lead. That's right. But listen, I do. I'm going Ranburne as well at home. I like them this weekend. Central Haneyville. I like Ranburne to advance.
In our penultimate matchup in Class 2A, you have Isabella, who is the Area 7 runner-up, who will be traveling on the road to Reeltown, the Area 6 winner. Isabella enters the playoffs with a 12-8 record. They finished as the runner-up to, I want to say, I think it was Tuscaloosa Academy.
Did you say Isabella?
Yes.
I think that was Lochapoka, right? No, I'm sorry. No, Reeltown.
Yeah, that's mixed up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Isabella finished as the runner-up to Tuscaloosa Academy. Reeltown won the area over Lochapoka. Got to see Reeltown a couple of days ago last week, going to watch Marcus Smith throw. I like Reeltown here in this matchup. And I think Isabella was in the area with Reeltown up until this year, where they moved to the area with Tuscaloosa Academy. So kind of fitting these two teams match up in the first round. But this series gets started on Friday at 4. I'm going to go with Reeltown to advance to the second round.
I agree with you completely. Obviously, when you've got an arm like you just mentioned in Jamarcus Smith, you got to like your chances in that game. And then if you're Reeltown, you're thinking, how can I win one more game? That's what you're doing with it, because you got to like your chances. At the same time, if you're Isabella, you're on the other side, and you're not going to score, probably not going to score a ton of runs off Jamarcus Smith unless you get some help. So you go up and you maybe wait him out, you small ball, you get a runner on early, you move him over. But I do like Reeltown to advance this weekend.
In our final matchup in Class 2A, you have Washington County. The Area 1 runner-up travels on the road to GW Long to the Wiregrass area, who finished as the Area 4 winner over Ayrton. Washington County enters the playoffs with 11-15 record, finishing as the runner-up to Bayshore Christian. GW Long, like I mentioned, won that area over Ayrton. The Rebels have a 17-9 record. The series gets started on Friday at 4 o'clock. I'm going to go with GW Long. I think we've long documented the long success of GW Long, and I think they continue that here this season. And that starts with a first-round win over Washington County. Give me the Rebels to win this first-round matchup.
I agree with you. And every year in 2A, you check out that area between GW Long and Ayrton. Who's going to come out of that as the winner? Who's going to come out of that as the runner-up? Really, it doesn't matter. They're both going to qualify for the playoffs. They both historically make big runs. GW Long's had some big wins of late. I like GW Long to advance this week. Again, you can almost, I don't want to say pencil their name in throughout the bracket, but that's what they're built for. So give me GW Long to wrap us up in 2A to advance to next weekend. So we're through the first two, so we'll jump right into 3A. We're trying to keep this as
third of the way done.
We're a third of the way done, and I'm already starting to call. No, I'm joking. I'm good. But we are trying to keep this thing rolling for our listeners.
I'm not leaving you. I got to go see what my dog's doing.
Okay. But we do want to try to, give a speak on every series that's going on this week. And our first one in classification, in 3A classification, you've got the Area 12 runner-up. That's JB Pennington. They come in with a record of 17-13. They finished right outside of our top 10 in 3A. They are on the road at Walter Welborn. Walter Welborn won Area 9. They finished with a record of 9-15. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. I believe that I saw, and I could be totally wrong, if there's any Walter Welborn fans on here, if I'm wrong, please let me know. But I believe this is the first time in several years that Walter Welborn is going to be hosting a first round or any state playoff series. So kudos to them for getting a state playoff series back at their home. I believe that's right. But I'll say this, JB Pennington's a team that we followed all year long. I like JB Pennington this weekend. Again, they come in with a 17-13 record, sit right outside of our top 10. I do like JB Pennington to go on the road and get that win over Walter Welborn.
Before I give my pick, Maggie ripped into a pillow. There's stuff spread all over our room. So my wife would be thrilled about that.
You got to work, man. You have to work.
Yeah. I'm going JB Pennington as well. Kudos to Walter Welborn. Like you mentioned, that winning their area for the first time in a good while. But I'm going to go with JB Pennington as well to go on the road here and in our first matchup in Class 3A to get a first round win.
Our next series in 3A pits Colbert County, the runner-up in Area 14. They finished runner-up to Phil Campbell. We'll talk about them later. They come in with a record of 8-13, and they are at Whitesburg Christian. Whitesburg Christian was the winners of Area 15. They sit at number 10 in our last poll. They come in with a 17-10 record. They may have played somebody yesterday, so I think they may have won yesterday. I'm not sure, but they're 17-10, somewhere right in there, that nature. Listen, Whitesburg Christian, you sit, top of that order, pitching rotation. You've got Luke Holbrook. You've got some nice pieces. He's a two-way guy. You've got some nice pieces in that offensive lineup. I think Whitesburg Christian has challenged themselves with a pretty difficult schedule this year. It's a team to follow in the North. Give me Whitesburg Christian this week.
Yeah, I think we had Whitesburg Christian ranked preseason. They didn't get off to a great start. Had some players getting back. I want to say from basket, maybe mixing that up, but down the stretch played a really strong schedule, and at the end of the season got them back into the Class 3A poll at number 10. Because we think Whitesburg Christian has a chance to make a pretty strong run here in Class 3A. And I think that starts this week with a series win over Colbert County. Give me Whitesburg Christian as well.
Rogers comes in with a record of 13-13. They're the runner-up in Area 16. They finished runner-up to Lauderdale County. They will be on the road at Collinsville, who won Area 13 over Fife, and I think Fife is a good team. We'll talk about them later. Collinsville won Area 13. They sit at 17-8. They also finished the season ranked number 7 in our poll, and throughout the season they'd been a little bit higher, but again, they were ranked all season long. Collinsville, I think that's maybe a junior sophomore dominated team. We saw them at our our small town showdown. I like Collinsville to go. I like Collinsville at home this week. I like them fairly convincingly. Although I saw Rogers had a big win, I believe it was last week over somebody that sort of.
Yeah, it was 9-0. It was 9. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they beat somebody fairly convincingly. So again, I do like Collinsville, but I don't think it's not a cakewalk. It's not a walkthrough. But give me Collinsville to advance.
Rogers beat March Hill Bible.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was.
9-0.
Yeah.
In Rogersville, they've kind of challenged themselves down the stretch. They with their schedule, they went and played up in that Tennessee tournament. I'm forgetting the Warrior. I think it's the Warrior Classic up in Tennessee. And I think they've challenged themselves with their schedule, but ultimately I'm going to side with Collinsville in their first season in Class 3A, moving up from 2A, being a long-time, consistent, deep playoff threat in Class 2A. I think that continues this year in their first season in Class 3A. Give me Collinsville with that experienced group of seniors and juniors to advance here in the first round.
We've got several intriguing matchups in 3A, and here's the first one, in my opinion. You've got the runner-up in Area 10. You've got Gordo. They come in with a record of 18-12. They finished runner-up to Winfield. We'll talk about them in just a couple minutes. They are on the road at the winners of Area 11. That's Piedmont. Piedmont finished the season with a record of 15-12. This series will get started on Friday at 5. Man, let me tell you something.
Man, you asked me give me your top 3 powerhouse programs in Class 3A. These two have to be inside your top 3.
I was about to say these two programs are very similar because they're notorious for winning. And I'm not talking about just in baseball. I'm looking at other sports. Athletics is important at Gordo. Athletics is important at Piedmont. Kudos to both of those administrations and the leadership that it's not the end all be all, but athletics is very important. And you can see the success on the field and not just baseball field for both of these programs. And this is one, again, this might be the premier matchup in 3A. Again, it's two similar teams. They both have played very difficult schedules, very similar schedules. Again, winning is in their DNA for both of these teams. Give me the home team, give me the Bulldogs of Piedmont to squeak by barely against the Green Wave. And I don't want to make my people for Gordo unhappy with me because they're going to try to do us a flyover next year for the small town showdown. But man, I'm not pulling for anybody. But listen, this is a big time matchup in 3A. By the slightest of margins, give me Piedmont.
I just got one question. I got one question before I make my pick. I want to know if the cooler is making the trip to Piedmont. I'm banking on it is. I'm going to go with Gordo. I'm going to go with the Green Wave here in a battle of powers in Class 3A, heavyweight battle. I'm going to go with the Green Wave here to take 2 out of 3. Definitely can see it go to 3 games. We'll split in this matchup, and that's very deservingly so because these are 2 teams, highly respected teams in the state. I'm going to go with Gordo. You'll side with Piedmont.
Moving right along, our next matchup, we've got the runner-up of Area 11. That's Glencoe. They come in with a record of 7-18. They finished runner-up to Piedmont. They are at the winners of Area 10. Winfield, as we just talked about, defeated Gordo to win that area, Area 10. Glencoe is 7-18. Winfield is 25-6 and ranked number 3 in the state. This is a team to circle, man. Winfield can win the whole thing, and they that's another powerhouse program. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. Man, I'm going Winfield. I think it could be a 2-game sweep. Again, that's nothing towards Glencoe. It's just how strongly we feel about Winfield and this team that could make a really deep run this year.
I mentioned it yesterday. When we do our rankings, we look at pull teams, game changers, and a lot of times there would be a loss to Winfield, and a lot of these teams that I would look up. And obviously, winning 25 games speaks for itself. But they're 25-6. I know one of their losses were to Bob Jones. They played a quality schedule. They took 2 out of 3 against Gordo. Give me Winfield here pretty easily in this first round matchup to advance to the Sweet 16 in Class 3A.
And if Gordo and Piedmont is not the premier matchup in 3A, this next one is right there with it. You've got two very evenly matched teams, I believe. You've got the Area 13 runner-up, Fife. They were in our small town showdown. They finished runner-up to Collinsville. That's 2 very good teams out of the same area. Fife finished the season with a 17-6 record. They are at the winners of Area 16, which is Lauderdale County. Lauderdale County finished the season at 17-12. They scuffled a bit early. This series will get started on Friday at 2:00. Man, both of these teams sit right outside of our top 10. Both of them are quality teams. Both of them well coached, fundamentally sound teams. There's no doubt about it. I think this could be a really, really intriguing, interesting series. But before I make my pick, I need to let the Fife people know, if there's anyone at Fife, you got to have the bologna sandwich when you go to Lauderdale County. All right. You got to try the bologna sandwich. And because of the bologna sandwich, I'm going Lauderdale County. And I say that jokingly. I'm not going with them because of the bologna sandwich. I'm going with them, at home. I covered a game there last year in the playoffs. I think they played Plainview. It was Lauderdale County and Plainview. That's a pretty tight quarters there. It's a pretty raucous atmosphere. The crowd's right on top of you. Man, I'm going to go Lauderdale County in a series that I think definitely goes 3 games. I think it's 2 really good teams in 3A.
2 really good arms going at it. I don't know, you look at with Fife with Blake Dobbins, who we saw in the small town showdown, was up to 89, held Vincent to 2 runs. And then on the other side, Skylar Tucker for Lauderdale County. We'll see. Do those arms throw game 1? Do they go head to head, or do both coaches kind of mix it up? One throws game 1, the other throws game 2. That'll remain to be seen. But I'm going to go with Fife. They played in that one game in our small town showdown. Was impressed with them. They faced Landon Archer, who's a really good arm for Vincent. Wasn't able to score a run against them, but held Vincent to a 2-0 game and was threatening there late in the final innings. I was impressed with Fife. I'm going to go with them here in a really good series up in North Alabama. Give me Fife. So we'll split this series to advance here in the Class 3A state playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting series to follow. I don't think either one of us would be surprised if either team wins. But that'll take us to our next matchup in 3A. That's Elkmont. Elkmont comes in with a 17-10 record. They finished runner-up in Area 15 to Whitesburg Christian. And you know how good we think Whitesburg Christian is. They are on the road. This series will begin Friday at 4:30. They're on the road at the winners of Area 14. That's Phil Campbell. Phil Campbell finished with a record of 18-11, sitting right outside of our top 10. Phil Campbell is a team that I think got hot halfway through the season, and they've continued to roll. Elkmont was a team that we were, told about, team to follow. Impressive record for Elkmont, coming in at 17-10. I'm going to go Phil Campbell, the Bobcats. I believe that's what it is, the Bobcats at home this week. this is another series that I think could be interesting. You look at Elkmont as a runner-up. Well, they finished runner-up to Whitesburg Christian, and we talked about Whitesburg Christian. I think this is a fairly evenly matched series, but give me Phil Campbell to get the win and advance to the second weekend of the series of the state playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Phil Campbell may be, kind of returning back to form. The past couple of years, compared to their previous years, with when Mason Sweeney and a few of those guys were there, they were consistently at the top of 3A. And I think they've kind of started to turn around a little bit this year. I'm going to go with Phil Campbell as well. Elkmont's had a really good season, finishing, behind Whitesburg Christian, like you said. No shame in that. But I'm going to go with Phil Campbell here as well. They've been outside our top 10 in Class 3A all season long, and I think we'll both side with Phil Campbell here in this first round matchup.
And our last matchup in the North features another team that's been right outside of our top 10 all season long, and that's the Area 12 winners, Vinemont. Vinemont finished 22-7. Again, they won Area 12 over J.B. Pennington. They will be hosting the runner-up from Area 9, and that's Randolph County. Randolph County finished the season with the record of 6-16. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. Randolph County finished runner-up to Walter Welborn. Man, I think it's too much Vinemont this week. I think Vinemont wins this, and I think it could be fairly convincing.
I agree. I agree with you as well. Vinemont's consistently been in that discussion for that. When we're replacing a team in a Class 3A top 10, they've been in discussion. Obviously, having over 20 wins speaks for itself. Give me Vinemont as well. I agree with you. Could be, could definitely see a sweep here for Vinemont in the first round.
Moving to the south, our first matchup features the runner-ups in Area 4. That's south side of Selma. They come in with a record of 2-4. It appears as they only played their area games. They are at the Area 1 winners of Flomaton. Flomaton comes in with a record of 15-8. This series will get started on Friday at 4. Flomaton, again, that impressive 15-8 record. They sit right outside of our top 10. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I think this is just entirely too much Flomaton. I see this handedly going in Flomaton's way this week.
Yeah, I agree with Flomaton winning. A pretty 3-team area, but three really quality teams. With obviously Flomaton, you got T.R. Miller and Cottage Hill Christian. T.R. Miller, who was ranked for a good part of the season in 3A. Flomaton was able to win that area. Give me Flomaton as well to start us off in the South.
Another big series right here, man. This is a biggie in the South. You've got the runner-up of Area 6. That's the Lee Scott Academy, who, Austin, you don't even know this, who just this morning told us that they will be in our small town showdown next year. Glad to have them. Lee Scott Academy, again, they finished runner-up in Area 6, but they finished runner-up to Glenwood, and we'll talk about Glenwood later.
Got to get them in the small town showdown.
Amen. They're on my list to call next. Lee Scott comes in with a record of 19-10. They sit right outside. They sit at number 6. My apologies. They're at number 6 to finish up the season. They are on the road at the the Area 7 winner, Thorsby. Thorsby comes in with a record of 25-8. They sit at number 9. So out of the get-go, we've got number 6 at number 9. This is a big one. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. I went back and forth on this one. I went Lee Scott, then I went Thorsby, went Lee Scott. I'm going to go Thorsby at home. And again, is that an upset? I don't know. Lee Scott Academy's 6, Thorsby's 9. It's at Thorsby. This has the makings of being an elite series this weekend. I can definitely see it going 3 games. May be wrong, but again, I picked Thorsby. I could very easily see Lee Scott win this, but give me Thorsby at home to advance.
I'm going with Lee Scott Academy. Lee Scott, and we talked about it on our previous episodes. Lee Scott, I think they have 10 losses, but a lot of those have been to 5, 6, and 7A teams. They played a really tough schedule. They were as high as, I think, 4 or 5 in our Class 3A poll, settled in at number 6 in our final poll. Thorsby having 25 wins, very impressive win in that area. They split that final series with Hale County, won the deciding game 3. I think it's Lee Scott, who's been playing some really good baseball down the stretch. I'm going to go with them to go on the road and get their first ever AHSAA state playoff win in their first season at the AHSAA level.
Going to be a good one to follow. There's no doubt about that one. Moving right along, our next matchup, we've got Area 2 runner-up Wicksburg. They finished runner-up.
No, you got next now, Prattville Christian, Childersburg.
Okay. All right. Let me go back here and look then. All right. You got, Prattville Christian. Oh, I'm messed up here. Give me just a second.
I got it right here if you want me to do it.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yes.
Yeah, Prattville Christian will be at home. I know.
Yeah.
I know this series will get started on Friday. Prattville Christian will be at home. Our number 1 team in Class 3A. They have a 27-2 record. Impressive season so far for Prattville Christian. They'll be hosting Childersburg. I got to see, in that big area championship in the Montgomery area, Prattville Christian and St. James. Man, the abundance of quality arms that Prattville Christian has at the top of that rotation. Some guys who they really didn't even throw in that area series would be big time arms that elsewhere. Prattville Christian is loaded with talent. They can swing it offensively, really balanced attack. I like Prattville Christian. Obviously, being on our number 1 team throughout the majority of the season, I like them here to get a series sweep at home against Childersburg.
I do as well. I like Prattville Christian fairly convincingly. I just think they're at the top of the pecking order in 3A. I mean, they're obviously. I'm not saying that they're number 1 and everybody else is below them, but they're at the top. There's no doubt about it. There's a handful of teams that can win it, and they are obviously one of them. Austin, I appreciate you picking me up right there. Mm-hmm. Getting right back in it. Now we'll get to Wicksburg. Wicksburg finished runner-up in Area 2 to Providence Christian. But Wicksburg finished with a 13-9 record. They sit right outside of our top 10. They will be on the road to the winners of Area 3. That's Excel. Excel won that area over.
It was. Let me find it. Hillcrest Evergreen.
That's right. Okay, yeah, that's correct. All right. But this is again Wicksburg at Excel. Excel finished regular season with a 9-18 record. This series will get started on Friday at 2:00. Man, Wicksburg has been right on the cusp of being ranked all year. That is that's a school that's synonymous with baseball. Wicksburg. I'm going with Wicksburg, and I like them pretty convincingly this weekend to make it to round 2.
Yeah, on the road, led by Drew Collin, a right-handed pitcher, shortstop, headed to Chipola. You got to like your chances when you roll him out, whether in game 1 or game 2, and then it's about trying to find a way to win that one of those last 2 games. I agree with you. I'm going to go with Wicksburg on the road here to defeat Excel to advance to the second round of the Class 3A state playoffs.
Continuing in 3A, you've got the Area 3 runner-up. We just talked about, you mentioned it, Hillcrest Evergreen. They lost that area to Excel. Hillcrest comes in with a record of 3-4. They are on the road at Area 2 winner Providence Christian. Providence Christian went 12-11, right outside of our top 10. This series will get started on Friday at 1:00. Listen, man, we took the Area 2 runner-up, Wicksburg. We both took them to win that previous series. You've got another Area 2 team here, the winners. That's Providence Christian. I think Area 2 sweeps Area 3 this week. Give me Providence Christian to advance fairly easily.
Yeah, pretty easily for Providence Christian. I like them as well. Consistent power in that Dothan area down in Class 3A, and they enter the playoffs. I like them with this first round matchup to advance to the Sweet 16.
Speaking of easy, there'll be nothing easy in the next one. All right. Yep. This is going to be a big time matchup to follow. You've got St. James. They finished runner up in Area 5, and as you mentioned, that was to Prattville Christian. St. James finished the season ranked number 5 with a 16-9 record. They are on the road at a sneaky good team. who won Area 8. That is Altamont. Altamont comes in with a record of 16-4. They have been, maybe they were ranked a week, maybe not, but they've been right on the verge. And again, I hate to say if we had a number 11, but if we had a number 11, I think that Altamont would probably be number 11. Again, 16-4. I know they played some larger schools. I know they played Homewood tough 2 or 3 weeks ago. Man, this is, we talked about thinking Providence Christian may win that last one pretty easy. Man, this is not an easy one. But I'm going with St. James to go on the road and get a big win over Altamont. And again, I would not be surprised if it goes the other way either. But I like St. James. You've seen them. You've told me how good you think they are. Give me St. James to go on the road and get a big series win at Altamont to advance to round 2.
Yeah, something tells me just to go with St. James as well, but it pains, both of us to see us both pick St. James going against Altamont, the home team, 16-4 record, a team that we haven't had ranked inside the top 10, probably screaming we deserve to be in the top 10, and they've got a prime chance to prove us wrong here. We're both going to go with St. James, but St. James have been inside the top 5 for the majority of the season. That kind of speaks to how highly we think of them. Led by the top of that lineup and Charlie Cutler in the top of that rotation. I'm going to go with the Trojans just barely in a close 3-game series. Give me St. James to go on the road and defeat Altamont here in Class 3A.
And if I didn't say it, that one gets started on Friday at 4:00. Another series in 3A that gets started on Friday, but this one gets started at noon on Friday. The Area 7 runner-up, Hale County. They finished runner-up to Thorsby, and they sit at 12-12. Austin, I may be wrong, but I think Hale County's got some decent wins on the season. I may be wrong. Don't quote me.
They split that area with who was it?
Thorsby.
Thorsby, yeah.
Yeah. That might be what I was talking about. Yes, Hale County comes in at 12-12. Again, they finished runner-up in Area 7. They are on the road at Glenwood, who won Area 6. We mentioned them defeating Lee Scott Academy. Glenwood they went from being unranked to just, I don't know if we had them ranked very beginning of the season, or I know the second week they took a huge jump and they've been there ever since. They held on to the top spot for a week or two, but I think since then they've been number 2 the rest of the way. Glenwood, this is their first year in the AHSAA after numerous state titles in the AISA. They sit at 24-4. This one gets started at noon on Friday. I think Glenwood is, again, there's another team that can win the entire thing, the whole thing. You've seen Glenwood several times. I'm going Glenwood. I like them. I don't want to say easy, but wouldn't be surprised if it's a Glenwood sweep this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go Glenwood as well. I've seen them. Really balanced team, about like Prattville Christian, and that could be a big-time semifinal matchup if it all works out. Still a lot of baseball to be played. But Glenwood, they were inside I think we had them number 2 or 3 to start the season, and they've been inside the top 2 ever since. Give me the Gators. Give me Glenwood at home to advance to the Sweet 16.
And we will wrap up 3A with a very interesting matchup. You've got Cottage Hill Christian. You referenced that Area 1 in 3A earlier. Flomaton defeated. It's Flomaton, Cottage Hill Christian, and T.R. Miller. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Flomaton won that area. Cottage Hill Christian was able to capture the runner-up spot. They come in at 17-7. They're at the winners of Area 4, Thomasville, the defending 3A last year. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the defending 3A state champs. We saw them in our small town showdown. That's an impressive team. And again, coming off a state championship a year ago, they sit at 17-7. This series will get started on Friday at 5. I think this is one of the sneaky good matchups in 3A. But I'm going to side with tradition. I'm gonna side with I'm gonna side with the home team. Again, nothing against Cottage Hill Christian. I like Thomasville. I like how they play, man. A little
Yeah,
hard nosed.
I like watching them. The
Hard-nosed.
Bryant brothers.
Yeah, hard-nosed brand of baseball, and I think it starts with their coaches. I think they just have a throwback, blue collar type mentality. That's hard to beat sometimes. So give me Thomasville to advance and look for a second blue map.
Yep, I think their journey to defend that blue map in Class 3A this season starts with a win over Cottage Hill Christian. I agree, but could definitely see this being a very close series, potentially 3-game series. Cottage Hill Christian coming in with that 17-7 record, finished as the runner-up, defeating TR Miller, I think, in the final week of the regular season. TR Miller has that big arm, and Cottage Hill Christian being able to beat them was a strong, difficult task, and they were able to do it. But I'm going to go with Thomasville, the defending 3A state champs. They know how to win in the playoffs. They've shown it with last year's state championship run, and I'm gonna pick them as well to advance out of the first round here in our final matchup in Class 3A.
We're under an hour and a half, so we'll be done by 1 o'clock.
We're rolling.
Yep.
That's jumping into Class 4A. I'll get us going here. We'll start off in the north like we have been for the past 3 classifications. We've got the Area 12 runner-up Cherokee County, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 9 winner in Cordova. Cherokee County enters with a 17-13 record. Cordova enters the playoffs with a 13-15 record. This series gets started on Friday at 3:30 at Cordova. Cherokee County finishing as the runner-up to Alexandria, and I think that they even Cherokee County and Alexandria split, and they played in the final week of the area series. I think Alexandria just had to win one of those first 2 games, and they won the first game. But Cherokee County turned back and won that game 2. They've won 17 games. Going to be a tough task going on the road to Cordova, being the home team. But I'm going to go with Cherokee County here, getting the first win here in the top of the north. In the north at the top, I'm going to go with them to go on the road in the first matchup in 4A.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm going Cherokee County. I think there's some winning in that school's DNA as well. I know that's a big time football program up there. They know how to win. Give me Cherokee County in a first round win on the road.
Yep. And then our next matchup, you've got the Area 14 runner-up, Central Florence, traveling on the road to Randolph, the Area 15 winner, Central Florence. Snuck their way in, I think, for the first time this season in our Class 4A poll. They finished at number 9. They entered this series with a 19-12 record. Randolph County winners over West Limestone in their area to win that area over West Limestone, St. John Paul II, and Westminster Christian. So beating some quality teams in that area to wrap up that area, I think, in the final week of the regular season. Randolph comes into the playoffs with an 11-13 record. This series gets started on Friday at noon. I'm going to go with Central Florence, man, being the runner-up. But you look at who they finished as the runner-up to, and that's Deschler, and they even split in their first 2 games a few weeks back in their area series, with Deschler being able to win that deciding game 3 to wrap up that area championship. Central Florence breezed through the rest of their I think they won the rest of their area series. I'll go with Central Florence here going on the road. I think they've even beaten Florence a couple of times, I want to say. It's a 7A school. I'm going to go with Central Florence to go on the road up to the Huntsville area and get a big win over Randolph to advance to the second round in Class 4A.
I agree with you completely. I like Central Florence too. You mentioned it. It's been a team that's been a little sneaky under the radar, good, and that's that could be attributed back to us. I mean that may be, we should have noticed them earlier, but that's a team that has been playing well of late. I did see Randolph about 2 or 3 weeks ago against Whitesburg Christian, and man, I was impressed with how they battled against a really good arm on the mound for Whitesburg Christian. I don't think it's going to be easy. Randolph has made some. They have gotten better as a program, but I'm going to go Central Florence. I think they do come to my neck of the woods and get the win this weekend.
Our next matchup, we have the Area 16 runner-up in New Hope. The Indians will be traveling on the road to West Morgan, who won Area 13. New Hope enters the playoffs with an 11-13 record. West Morgan sits at 15-11 going into the playoffs. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30 up in North Alabama. I went back and forth on this matchup. This is another sneaky, tough matchup.
Yep.
Maybe teams who may not be ranked, but two pretty evenly matched teams that we think. West Morgan winning that area over Good Hope. New Hope finishing as a runner-up in that 5-team area behind Madison County. I'm going to go with the road team. I'm going to go with the fighting Andrew Dennis's. I'm going to go with the Indians. Give me New Hope here to go on the road and take down West Morgan in this first round matchup.
I thought this would be a game we split, and or not a game, a series that we would split. And I'm not going to go in and change mine. I just have a little sneaky suspicion that New Hope may go on the road and get a win. To be honest with you, this is a coin flip for me, 50-50. I know that, you mentioned that they won the area over Good Hope. I know New Hope and Good Hope played earlier in a tightly contested game. I think it was a 3-2 final. You're not supposed to compare scores, but we do. And a lot of it depends on who's pitching, all that, how many games they would play the last 3 days, whatever. But I'm going to go with New Hope as well. I think it may be, I don't know if you'll terminate an upset or not, but I'm going to go with the road team here. I thought this would be a game or a series we split, but not. We're both going to take New Hope. So West Morgan has a chance to prove us both wrong.
And then our next matchup in the north, you've got Fayette County, the Area 10 runner-up, who will be traveling on the road to Etowah, the Area 11 winner. Fayette County made a deep run last year. Etowah enters as the number 2 team in Class 4A. They have a 19-11 record. This is one of 2 series getting started in Class 4A on Thursday. This series gets started in Atala, Alabama, on Thursday at 5 o'clock. Etowah, man, they won that difficult area over Westbrook Christian. They beat Hope's Bluff. Really strong 5-team area that Etowah was able to win. And I think that playing that tough schedule, they've gone and played in Mississippi. They've, Coach Bone, notoriously schedules such a tough schedule in the regular season to prepare them for these area series and the ones potentially to come down the road. Give me the Blue Devils. They've jumped up to number 2 in our Class 4A poll. They've played good baseball down the stretch. Give me Etowah to take this first round matchup at home.
I agree with you. Fayette County's had a good season, and that season may continue. I mean, nobody knows how it's going to play out, but really like Etowah. We talked earlier about a blue-collar team. Man, Etowah, that's them. That's a blue-collar team that, again, notorious for, advancing. I know they finished runner-up a couple years ago to Mobile Christian, returned and won it the next year. You mentioned it before. Don't want to just repeat, a dead horse, but Coach Bone, he schedules tremendously hard every year. He knows what he's doing. I like Etowah here, and obviously, I think they could end up in Jacksonville, Oxford when this thing is over.
Yep. Our next matchup in the north, we have that Area 11 runner-up, Hope's Bluff, who just talked about. They'll be traveling on the road to the Area 10 winner in Haleyville. Hope's Bluff enters the playoffs with an 18-12 record. Haleyville sits at 22-6 and finished at number 5 in the Class 4A top 10 poll. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30. Another matchup that I think has the potential to be a potential 3-game series. Hope's Bluff, like we mentioned, finishing behind Etowah, but finishing ahead of Westbrook Christian, winning that series in the area to push them to that runner-up. Westbrook Christian, obviously, thought very highly of them, were ranked up towards the top at number 1 in Class 4A for a good part of the season, Hoax Bluff. And I think they even split their series against Etowah too. So Hoax Bluff has shown the ability to compete against highly ranked teams, and Haleyville is one of those highly ranked teams. Another one that they'll play. And you talked about it yesterday. You're very high on Haleyville. I am as well. And I'm going to go with them here to continue their strong play. Have seemed to only get better as the season has progressed. And I think Haleyville, along with a few other teams, have a real chance here to make a deep playoff run in Class 4A.
Yeah, I mean, I gave my pick away yesterday on our normal podcast. When I said that Haleyville's for real and they've got a chance, they legitimately do. It's not going to be easy with Hoax Bluff. I mean, listen, I'm just telling you, Hoax Bluff could very well beat Haleyville. I mean, you mentioned it when you're playing the likes of Etowah, you're playing the likes of Aniana, you're playing the likes of Westbrook Christian in your area. I mean, when you get in the playoffs, you've pretty much seen everything. Go ahead.
There probably aren't many better hitters in Class 4A than Glavin Lamberth, I would say.
100%
Morgan as well. Glavin, those two guys can hit.
Yes, they can. And but I said it yesterday. I like Haleyville a lot. I think maybe they've won like 17, 19 straight, something like that. I can't remember, but they've won a lot, and they may have had a loss here recently. I'm not exactly sure, but I like Haleyville to win at home this weekend.
Our next matchup in Class 4A, you have Good Hope, the Area 13 runner-up. They'll be traveling on the road to Madison County, who wrapped up Area 16 with a series win over New Hope. Good Hope enters this series and the playoffs with a 12-7 record. Madison County comes in with a 20-4 record. During the middle part of the season, they made their debut in the Class 4A poll. They dropped out, I think, around the spring break part of the season, but have quickly inserted themselves back into the top 10. They come in at number 8 in the final Class 4A poll. I know you've seen them a couple of times. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30. Like I said, I think you've seen them a good bit of times, and we're fairly impressed. Have some heavy hitters in the middle of that lineup, and have really started to put it together on the mound, led by Coach Weaver. I'm going to go with Madison County. I think it's too much Tigers here in this first round matchup, giving Madison County to advance to the second round.
I agree with you. And you mentioned it. You sort of took my thunder there, and that's perfectly fine because neither one of us know what we're going to say. But the top of that Madison County order can really swing it. There's a couple guys that you've got to keep off base if you're going to keep Madison County from scoring a bunch of runs. And I forgot, they've got a frontline arm. It's got an ERA under 1. I forget his name. That's my fault. I think it may be. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about players a lot here, just teams. But I do like Madison County this week, and if they are able to take care of business, them and Haleyville could be really interesting next week if they both take care of business, or even if it's Hoax Bluff. I mean, again, I do like Madison County. It's a team that maybe we should have had ranked earlier. I think they've lost to 2 in-state teams so far, but we'll see how it plays out this weekend. But I'm like you. Give me the Tigers.
Cole Mullins is your pitcher you're thinking about.
Cole Mullins, yes.
Yep. Our next matchup in the North in Class 4A, you have the Area 15 runner-up, West Limestone, traveling on the road to the Area 14 winner in Deschler. West Limestone sits at 14-14. Entering this series, Deschler comes in at number 6 in the final Class 4A poll. They have a 22-9 record, obviously winning that series over Central Florence. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30. I'm going to side with Deschler. Deschler has been ranked inside of our top 7 or 8 for the majority of the season. We think very highly of them, led by Garrett Reed and a few other guys. A bunch of juniors and seniors, experienced players. They have led by some really strong pitching and some heavy hitters in that lineup. I'm going to go with Deschler here to advance to the second round.
Yeah, and this brings back one of my more inconspicuous moments of the year. Deschler began the season ranked number 1 in 4A. Remember?
Yep.
Remember why?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but Deschler has been top 5, 6, 7, as you said, all year long. They did win that area over Central Florence. Yeah, I think it's a complete ball club. I think it's a team that can advance. I like Deschler. I like them pretty handedly this week. That's a team to keep an eye on. So give me Deschler, much like you.
And then our final matchup in the North in Class 4A, you've got Dora, who will be traveling on the road to Alexandria. Dora finished as the Area 9 runner-up behind Cordova. They enter the playoffs with a 15-12 record. Alexandria, last year's Class 5A state champs, they moved down to Class 4A this season and have seemed to continue that success coming into this series with an 18-11 record. Obviously won that Area 12 like we talked about a few matchups ago over Cherokee County. The series gets started on Friday at 4:30. I personally haven't been to playoff series at Alexandria. I know you have, and I think it's a pretty good environment, especially last year with that state title team. And I assume this week should be another really good environment for the Valley Cubs, led by Bray Good on the mound, South Alabama commit, doing it both on the mound and at the plate. I think he helps lead Alexandria in addition to a few other guys. I think they have some talented younger players who have really seemed to get better as the season has gone on. Give me the Valley Cubs to win this 2 out of 3 series at home. Get start this Friday.
And Coach Welch, man, he's done a good job with that team because they lost, I think, maybe 7 or 8 starters from Good may be the only starter back.
8 and 9, yeah.
Yeah. And he may be the only starter back, yeah. And I'll be honest, I'll be perfectly honest with you. At the beginning of the season, we didn't see this from Alexandria simply because they lost so much. It's nothing out of disrespect towards that program, but when you lose so much from a team that had so much success, you wonder, what are the guys that were not involved last year? What are they going to do? Well, it's obvious that they've been brought along, right? They've been developed at Alexandria, and here they find themselves again ranked. And again, you said move down from 5A to 4A. I'm going to go with you. Give me the Valley Cubs to advance.
Jumping along to the south, we have the Area 4 runner-up in New Brockton. They'll be traveling on the road. They'll be going south to the Area 1 winner in Satsuma. New Brockton enters the playoffs with a 14-10 record. Satsuma coming off a huge Saturday where they went, like they swept Bayside Academy in 2 games on Saturday to win that area championship. Where going into that playoffs, they didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs, and they come out on Saturday with an area championship, a huge week for Satsuma. They enter the playoffs with an 18-9 record. And I like Satsuma to continue that success this week against New Brockton at home, a series that gets started this Friday at 4:30. I think Satsuma continues that momentum that they've continued to build throughout the course of the back half of the season into area play, winning the area over the likes of Bayside Academy, over Orange Beach, St. Michael. Talented area, one of the better areas in Class 4A this season, and Satsuma was able to win that. Give me them to advance here in this first round matchup.
I think it's 2 very evenly matched teams. They both sit right outside of our top 10. As you said, New Brockton's at 14-10, Satsuma's 18-9. The Gators are hot right now. We were on the road in Montgomery covering the game, following Satsuma's progress because we knew what was at stake in 4A Area 1. And I remember you saying Satsuma won, and it sort of threw that area back into a frenzy.
Scored like 12 runs in the 4th inning.
Yeah,
won like 14-2 or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm again 2 evenly matched teams, home team, a team that's hot, playing with confidence right now. I'm going to go with the Gators this weekend to advance.
We have our next matchup in the South. You have West Blockton, the Area 6 runner-up. They'll be traveling on the road to Oak Grove, the Area 7 winner. West Blockton enters the playoffs with an 11-11 record. Oak Grove, obviously our number 1 team in Class 4A, with a 23-3 record. This series gets started on Friday at 4 o'clock. Too much Oak Grove for me, led by Jeremiah Fuller, a full cast of supporting players. Oak Grove has put together a historic season in Class 4A, obviously being ranked number 1. Speaks to how highly we think of them. Give me Oak Grove to start their potential push to the state championship series. A lot of baseball to be played, but I think it gets started off on the right foot with the win over West Blockton here in the first round.
I agree with you. Too much Oak Grove. I can see this being a convincing win this weekend. Really, really impressive season by them. And now, but again, everybody's 0-0 right now. And I'm sure Oak Grove is dialed back in. Also, I do have to tell you, as of right now, we have 2.6 thousand live viewers. That's awesome.
We got 2.7, 2,757 right now. So
we appreciate every single one of you jumping on. And again, we're whatever we say, there's no disrespect taken towards your team. So if you see us, please come speak to us this weekend.
Our next matchup, if I can find it, our second series that will get started on Thursday, in addition to the Etowah series, you have the Area 8 runner-up in Hanley, who will be traveling on the road to Trinity Presbyterian. Hanley finishes comes into the playoffs with a 16-12 record, finishing behind Munford in the area. Trinity Presbyterian enters the playoffs with a 20-8 record, obviously winning that series against Tallahassee that we were able to be at. That game 2 was a very entertaining series to be at. Like I said, this series gets started on Thursday at 1. I'm sure those Hanley players may enjoy. Glad that Trinity doesn't have lights, so they get to go play during the day. Maybe get out of school a little bit. But for me, too much Trinity here. I like Trinity Presbyterian to get a series win here, led by Fleming Hall. We saw him. He was dominant on the mound throwing against Tallahassee. We got to see him throw. Was up to 92. Went 8 1/3, 8 2/3. Pitched into the 9th inning and was still, grabbing upper 80s with his fastball. He could swing it as well. They have a cast of younger players to give me Trinity Presbyterian to get a series win at home.
I agree with you. I mean, what a shot in the arm for Trinity to have Fleming Hall back, for extended innings. I think they had been building him up throughout the year, working back from a little injury. Was in some short spurts on the mound, but I think you said that was maybe his second longer outing of the year, maybe not. But
it was he hadn't thrown. I think it's like March 29th or something. He hadn't thrown, but it was like building him back up. It was his longest outing, obviously.
And to us, he looked really good on the mound. As you mentioned, holding velocity into the 8th inning, that says a lot about him. That's a shot. That's a big shot in the arm for them. Get him back. So I like Trinity as well.
Yeah. And then our next matchup, you have the Area 2 runner-up Jackson, who will be traveling on the road to Geneva, who won Area 3 in Class 4A. Jackson enters the playoffs with a 9-10 record. Geneva comes into this series with a 13-13 record. Series gets started on Friday at 4:30. And I don't know if Juju's still listening. I want to pick Jackson, but I can't bring myself around to do it. I'm going to pick Geneva here, being the area winner, being at home. Finishing as the area winner over Houston Academy. I like Geneva here at home in this first round matchup.
Yeah, I was going to pick Geneva too, and I still am. I just don't want Juju to be mad at me. Going on the road is difficult. At home, it just you just familiar surroundings. This is a matchup. Of two teams I think are similar, but I think Geneva is maybe a little bit more advanced than Jackson. Give me Geneva at home to win and advance to the second round.
And that'll move us to the next quadrant of the bracket. Our final 4 matchups in Class 4A. Starting it off, you have the Area 3 runner-up in Houston Academy, traveling on the road to W.S. Neal. W.S. Neal enters the playoffs with a 13-6 record, just outside the top 10 in Class 4A. Houston Academy, the road team, enters the playoffs with a 12-14 record. Series gets started on Friday at 4:30. I'm going to go with W.S. Neal in this matchup. They've been inside. They were inside our top 10 for a few weeks, ultimately settled outside the top 10. They've got a couple juniors and seniors there that have been leading the way for W.S. Neal. Houston Academy, obviously, led by a starting shortstop, being one of the primary pieces for them. Harrison Milanowski has had a good season, but I'm going to go with W.S. Neal being at home. I'm going to go with them to take this series in what could be a tightly contested series. I'm going to ultimately side with the home team and W.S. Neal.
You said it there at the end. tightly contested series. I was going back and forth on this one because I kept going back and looking at Houston Academy's schedule and the teams that they played down in that Dothan area. The likes of Dothan, Headland, a lot of those schools down there, they played and have played them tough and actually won some games. You can't just get all involved in that record. I think Houston Academy is better than their 12-14 record, but I'm going to go WS Neal as well at home. You said it. I don't really just want to repeat you, but in a tightly contested series, give me WS Neal to advance to round 2.
Where they'll play the winner of our next matchup, the Area 5 runner-up in Tallahassee, going on the road to Munford, who wrapped up Area 8, and I think a thrilling, was it game 3 or game 2?
I think
it
3. I believe it was 3.
Yeah, I think it was a late home run that was able to was it by Braden Nick? I think it was Braden
Nichols. Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to wrap up that area for Munford. Tallahassee, who we got to see, was very impressed with Tallahassee going. I mean, they battled Fleming Hall all game long. And then you had Thomas Lemon, who kept Trinity at bay on the mound. They've got some other pieces as well. Chase Chumley, Brew Milner.
We were wrong, Austin. Game 2.
Game 2.
Yep. Throw it up there. Yeah. Appreciate all of you for helping us out. It's hard to keep up with every game statewide. So thank you.
I may not make them happy though, because I'm going to go with Tallahassee going on the road. I was impressed with them. Tallahassee making that deep playoff run last year to the late rounds. I'm going with Tallahassee to continue, to try to replicate last year's playoff run. Give me Tallahassee to go on the road to Munford.
Well, if you can't tell, I'm typing right now. You know what that means? Mm-hmm. I'm typing. I just changed my pick. I went with Tallahassee and my man Brew Milner and crew, but I just swapped. I'm going Munford. At home, we talk about, momentum. Momentum is a real thing. I think momentum may carry over for Munford. At home, I was impressed with Tallahassee. I really was. And I don't know what just forced me to do this. Maybe it was the Munford people getting on here correcting us. I don't know. But I just swapped it for Munford for whatever reason. I don't know. I think this is a series that could go 3 games. I think it's a series of 2 evenly matched teams. Not going to be surprised if Tallahassee walks away with a win. Not going to be surprised if Munford walks away with a win. We know that Tallahassee last year, where they make it Elite 8 or Final 4, get beat by
Elite 8,
yeah. I think got beat in a crazy, wild finish in the Elite 8 that you were at, I believe, with all the bugs in the air. And that when all
that was Valley.
Okay, sorry, yeah, but I mean, I just swapped my pick to Munford, so I guess Jessica Pitts will be happy with me now. I don't know, but Tallahassee people won't. But again, a series to follow.
2 good 27 catchers in that series too. Brew Milner, Braden Nichols. So. Our next matchup, you've got the Area 7 runner-up in Pleasant Grove, traveling on the road to Bibb County. Pleasant Grove sitting at 10-14 in this series. Bibb County enters the playoffs with a 20-9 record and a number 3 ranking in our final Class 4A poll. Series gets set to get started in Centerville on Friday at 4:30. I'm gonna side with the Choctaws here of Bibb County. I like Bibb County. They've done it all year long. They've challenged themselves playing a quality schedule. They've beaten some really good teams. Obviously, winning 20 wins with their schedule is saying something. An impressive season so far. Give me Bibb County at home to start another potential playoff run in Class 4A.
Look back over the last 3 or 4 years. Can you remember a time when we didn't have Bibb County in the top 5 in 4A? I mean, they're there every year. You mentioned it. That Tuscaloosa area this year is really strong and playing the likes of Tuscaloosa. And I don't know who all they played. I know that they played some really good teams in that area. And that gets you ready for the playoffs. They do. I think, what are they, 20-6, I believe? 20-9. Yes. But that's a team that is conditioned for the state playoffs. I'm going to go with the Choctaws to advance. I like them this week fairly handedly. Give me Bibb County to advance to the second weekend of the season, of the playoffs.
And then our final matchup in Class 4A, you've got with 6 minutes to spare. You've got the Area 1 runner-up in Bayside Academy traveling on the road to Opp, the Area 4 winner. Bayside Academy comes into this series with a 16-14 record, sitting just outside the top 10 in our final Class 4A poll. Opp settles in at number 4 in our final Class 4A poll. They've been seemingly inside the top 5 for the back end of the season. They enter having an impressive 21-4 record. The series gets started down at Opp on Friday at 2:00. Man, you look at Opp, man, they just have quietly put together an impressive season. I've got their schedule put up right here. They're 4 losses. One was to Enterprise, 2 was to Faith Academy, and another one was to Ayrton. Outside of that, they've won all of their other games. I just think Opp it's too much Opp here. I think they're the Bobcats. They've prepared themselves playing some of those higher classification teams, winning over 20 games. And just the body of work that they've continued to put together. You look at Bayside Academy. Bayside Academy, too, has played a really strong schedule down in the Mobile area. Saw them in our South Alabama showdown. Seems like they've really started to put things together down the stretch and are playing really some good baseball going into the playoffs. I'm siding with Opp here, going with the home team to get off on the right foot in the first round win.
Yeah, this is one I went back and forth on as well. 2 quality ball clubs. Before I give my prediction, though, I do it every year, Austin. I got to ask, who can tell me somebody tell me what is Opp known for?
I know it. I'll give
you know it because I've brought it up, right?
Yeah.
What are we?
Yeah. What is Opp known for?
It's the blank capital of the world. Which, no offense to the people in Opp, because you're the blank capital of the world, I don't want to visit. Anybody can throw out there in the comments what Opp is known for. They have the largest blank rodeo in the world. Anybody know? I'll go ahead and get to my prediction. This could be an interesting series. Let's see if anybody gets that right. They got to Google it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'm like you. I'm gonna go with Opp. Those 4. There we go. There it goes. Brandon Speedy White. There you go, Gerald Holmesley. That's a guy from Piedmont, man. The rattlesnake, the world's largest rattlesnake rodeo. There you go. And people in Opp, please don't be mad at me, but I don't want to visit because I'm scared of rattlesnakes. But I'm gonna go with Opp this week. Again, this is an interesting series. Obviously, 2 talented clubs. Bayside is loaded with talent, can really bang the ball around the yard. But again, you mentioned the schedule. I guess you could say it for both, but Opp has really played well all season long. I'm going to go with Opp to advance to round 2. And again, this is a one that could go either way. So that will wrap us up.
5A. I got to go get a drink. I'm thirsty.
Okay. All right. So that'll wrap us up in 4A, and we will jump right into 5A. For those of you who are still hanging in with us, thank you so much. We've got 2 more classifications left. We're trying to do these in 30-minute increments, and we're 2 minutes to the good right now. So we're trying to stay on time. Hopefully we're done by 1:00. But in 5A, man, we've got some really interesting matchups. The first ones, as always, we'll start in the north. We'll move to the south afterwards. The first one, man, is a really, really weird matchup because it features last year's 4A. It's a rematch of last year's 4A state championship. You've got the Area 12 runner-up, Corner, who won the state championship last year. They come in with a 13-10 record. They are at the winners of Area 9, American Christian, who obviously finished runner-up last year. American Christian comes in with a record of 24-12. They are ranked number 3 in our 5A poll. They've been ranked at the top pretty much all year long. We've kept them up there even despite some losses that they have suffered, and some people have questioned, and that's perfectly fine. But we talked about Bibb County in 4A, about that Tuscaloosa area and how strong it is this year. American Christian has really played the likes of Hillcrest and Hoovers. We could go on Thompson. We could go Tuscaloosa County. We could go on and on and on. And because of that, they've suffered some losses. But man, it's still a really, really offensive team. And I'm not saying they don't have arms on the mound, but it's a lot easier to pitch for a team when you've got guys scoring 8, 10, 12 runs a game. We both, and I'm not going to speak for Austin, but I know we've talked about them ad nauseum during this season. We both like American Christian. I'm going to go with American Christian to get past Corner this year. And I don't want to use the word revenge, but it's just a weird matchup that these two clashed for the state title last year in 4A.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Patriots as well. Like you said, one of the top, if not the top offensive clubs in the entire state. If they can get it done on the mound, they can win a state championship. I think it's all going to come down to how they pitch it. But because they're going to score runs led by Eric Hines and a supporting cast. Give me American Christian as well.
Yeah, the next matchup, man, this is going to be a good one. And just so all of you know, we are still putting our schedule together as to where we're going to be on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We may be in the Birmingham area Thursday to catch an important 7A area series. That's still to be determined. But if I'm in North Alabama, this could be one that I'm at. Don't know where I'm going to be yet. You got Russellville, the Golden Tigers. Saw them last week, impressed with them. They finished runner-up. They come in with a record of 21-10, ranked number 9 in the state. They finished runner-up in Area 14. They are on the road at the Arab Knights, who won Area 15. They come in with a 17-10. They sit right outside of our top 10, and they've pretty much been there the entire year. And I think that Arab is absolutely playing the best baseball that they've played all season long right now. And I do have to say, 2 years ago when I went to Alexandria and Arab, that was the single best high school playoff environment I had ever been to. And I know it's going to be rocking again. And I know that Arab is playing very well right now. I went back and forth on this one. I think this is an interesting series to follow, but by the slightest of margins, I went with the Russellville Golden Tigers. I could very well be wrong. Those people at Arab, man, they are good to us. The people at Russellville the same way. This is going to be a clash, man. This is going to be a big-time series, but I sided barely with Russellville.
Yeah, it's hard not to take Russellville, the historic success of their program, winning over 20 games once again this season, going on the road. I think they're, obviously they're a tough, hard-nosed team. I think they'll be able to handle a tough playoff environment at Arab. Should be a great series, but I'm going to go with Russellville as well.
Our next matchup, two teams that are probably very familiar with each other. You've got the runner-up out of Area 16. You've got Scottsboro. They finished runner-up to Madison Academy. There is no slouch in that. Scottsboro finished with an 11-13 record. They are on the road at the Pirates of Boaz. Boaz won Area 13 this year. They come in with a record of 21-8. And you know what? If there's somebody in 5A that has a gripe as to why we're not ranked, it might be Boaz. They have beat some quality. What's that?
There are a lot of teams outside that have a gripe.
I agree. You could look at Headland. You could look at Briarwood Christian. You could look at Arab. Same way. I mean, Alberta. Again, there's only 10 spots. That's what makes it so difficult. But this matchup, man, I'm going to tell you, the more and more that I've watched and I don't mean watched in person, but followed and looked at stats, man, I think Boaz and listen, they've been there. Boaz is another team that football is important there. They win in football. There's some DNA. There's some winning in their DNA. Tyler Pierce is their number one arm quarterback in football, headed to West Alabama on a football scholarship. Those guys know how to win. I'm going to go with Boaz. I like them to continue their season moving forward to the second weekend of the playoffs.
I agree. I'm going to go Boaz as well. I'll go with the Pirates. Pierce being a 2-time Mizuno Pitcher of the Year, winning the award last week.
Yeah.
He, just an impressive season on the mound. You got to like your chances when you roll him out in game, whether it's game 1 or 2. And Boaz winning over 20 games, they've shown the ability to win throughout the season. I'm going to go with Boaz at home as well. They've seen Sardis make deep playoff runs over the past couple of years. I think this year could be the chance for Boaz to make a deep run in Class 5A.
The next matchup is one that may not feature ranked teams, but it's one I think that are pretty evenly matched teams. You've got the runner-up from Area 10, John Carroll Catholic. They come in with a record of 15-15, and again, I can't just run the names. I can't run the name off, but they've had some impressive wins lately. I think Leeds beat them 2 out of 3. I believe they beat Leeds once in area. Yeah,
John Carroll won the first game.
Yeah, John Carroll won the first game. Leeds was able to come back and win the next 2. John Carroll Catholic is at the winner of Area 11, Jacksonville. Jacksonville comes in with a record of 16-15 after winning that area over Moody, a team that I saw early in the year. They're a very strong program at Moody. So kudos to Jacksonville for getting that area championship. Excuse me. This was one I went back and forth on. Again, another interesting early matchup. I'm going to stay with John Carroll Catholic. I probably should go Jacksonville at home, but John Carroll Catholic has had some big wins of late. I think that they're hot. I think they're playing well at the right time. Give me John Carroll Catholic to advance.
Yeah, I'm going John Carroll as well. We think highly of Leeds. They were able to, put up a competitive series against them. Jacksonville, that area came down to the last. I mean, there at one point, I think all teams were like, I've got it right. I mean, they were all similar records going in. I think the final day. I mean, it was, their postseason fate was up in the air. I'm going to go with John Carroll Catholic on the road as well. Like you mentioned, they have some quality wins. And I think they've got enough firepower to be able to go on the road in a good playoff atmosphere and get a series win over Jacksonville.
Moving right along, our next matchup is 2 teams that I saw middle of the season. And we've just mentioned Moody. They finished runner-up in Area 11 at 14-16. They did finish runner-up to Jacksonville. We just talked about Jacksonville. Leeds, we talked about how they won that 2 of 3 from John Carroll Catholic to win Area 10. They come in with a 21-11 record. They finished the season right outside of the top 10. They were ranked at a couple different points during the season. I'll tell you, man, I thought Leeds was a very physical looking team. The day I saw them, they were facing Landon Archer at Vincent, so they didn't really bang the ball around the yard a lot that day, but they consistently have put up some big offensive numbers, and I think that continues this week. I like the physicality of Leeds. I think they've got some guys that can really, drive the ball to both gaps. I'm going to go with the Green Wave to win a tight series against Moody, because again, I saw Moody against Springville, and it was tough for, it was a tight game for about 3 or 4 innings. Springville stretched that out later, but I do like Leeds to get this in a tightly contested series.
Yep, these are 2 teams that have already played in the regular season, with Leeds having a 5-0 win back in March. And you look at, I'm going to go with Leeds as well. The body of work they put together, having wins over Spain Park, multiple wins over Brightwood Christian. They've beaten Pell City, and they've shown, even if they were to lose a game, they've shown the ability to turn around and win games 2 and 3 like they did against area play against John Carroll Catholic. For those reasons, I'm going to go with the home team as well. I'm going to go with the Green Wave to get a series win over Moody and advance to the second round.
Our next matchup features the runner-up from Area 13. They finished runner-up to Boaz. That's Douglas. They come in with an even 500 record at 11-11. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30 as they travel to Madison to face the winners of Area 16. That's the Mustangs of Madison Academy, who come in with a 25-6 record. Madison Academy jumped up another spot this week. They currently sit at number 2 in our 5A poll. And if you have been following our weekly podcast week in and week out, you have probably heard me talk about how impressed I am with Madison Academy. Their arms are deep. They've got 5 or 6 quality arms, and we all get caught up in velocity. They've got some guys that can run it up there pretty well, but on top of that, they got about 6 or 7 arms that can really pitch. It's a very senior-dominated team. I think there may be 7 or 8 senior starters. This is a team that I have been high on all year, and nothing has changed for me. I think Madison Academy is getting set up for a deep run. Now, where that leads, I don't know. Is it a state championship? Is it a first-round exit? We don't know. But, man, this is a team that I think can really win the whole thing in 5A. And I've told everybody that I've talked with that Madison Academy is a legit threat in 5A. So give me the Mustangs.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy pick for me as well. Madison Academy, the resume that they put together, winning 29 games. They beat Coleman yesterday. They beaten Bob Jones earlier in the season. They've beaten all of these higher classification teams, playing a strong schedule. They hope it's going to start to pay off here in the playoffs. And I think they get off on the right foot here with a series sweep over Douglas and with their sights set and which they should be on a deep playoff run in Class 5A because they're one of the main favorites going into the playoffs. But that doesn't mean anything. Everybody's 0-0 and excited to see how far the Mustangs can go. But I like them in the first round.
Next matchup is Fairview. They finished runner-up in Area 15, losing to Arab. They come in with a record of 15-15. They are on the road at Area 14 winners, Lawrence County. Lawrence County finished the season ranked number 6. They come in with a 21-7 record. And, we had been following Lawrence County for a few weeks. We knew that there was a big upcoming series, area series with Russellville. And, man, you talk about impressive. That 3-game sweep of Lawrence County that Lawrence County had of Russellville was very impressive and really caught our eye. We talked previously about how impressed we are with the Golden Eagles or the Golden Tigers of Russellville, and then we had one of our scouts go see Lawrence County the following week. Man, really, really impressive. This is a team to follow. If Lawrence County wins this week, could set up a big matchup next week with whoever wins the matchup they're partnered up with. I like Lawrence County to advance this weekend.
Yeah, I like Lawrence County as well. You mentioned the big series sweep over Russellville, winning those 3 games. And then you turn the page to even Priceville in the final week. They scored 10 runs in both games, facing some 2 really good arms. First game Coleman Gann, and then the second game Tide Borden. Both guys going to play at the next level. Been able to generate offense off of quality arms. That's what you're going to have to be able to do because you're going to face some quality arms, especially in this quadrant of the bracket with the teams that are in there. Lawrence County has shown the ability to put up offense against good arms and have done that for seemingly the majority of the season. I like Lawrence County here to advance to set up a potential big-time matchup regardless of who comes out of this next matchup.
You're right. It's our final matchup in the North, and it is number 10 Northside. They finished runner-up in Area 9, and you talk about, well, how can number 10 finish runner-up? Well, they finished runner-up to American Christian. We just talked about them. Northside sits at 21-8. They are on the road at Area 12 winners Springville. Springville is currently our number 1 ranked team in the state. They've been there for about 3 or 4 weeks straight. They were top 3. They eventually made their way up to the top and have not looked back. They come in with a record of 25-4. This series will get started on Friday at 4:30. Man, what a matchup. 10 versus 1 in the first round. To talk about both of these teams briefly, again, here we go. Going back to that Tuscaloosa area. Northside, a lot of those teams are seasoned coming out of that area due to playing each other so many times. Northside began to really turn heads about the second or third week in March when they made a deep run in the Gulf Coast Classic. I think they got beat in the finals, I believe, by Tuscaloosa County, possibly.
Yep.
Made a big run there, started to turn heads, and they've continued to just move right along doing what they do. They're on the road at Springville, a team that I've seen twice this year. I mentioned I saw them play Moody. Then I saw them against Hewitt-Trussville about a week later. Obviously, Springville's headlined by Carter Samuelson at the top of that rotation. Listen, man, I saw him really, really impressive. Fastball with heavy sink, commands the zone to both sides. This is a mega matchup in week one. And I've got to go with our number one team. I've got to go with Springville. But looking at Northside's track record and who they've beaten, they're not going to see anything they haven't already seen. Listen, if I am a Springville fan, or if I'm a Springville player, or if I'm a Springville coach, listen, I'm listening to this podcast. I'm thinking these guys are right, which I'm sure the Springville coaches already know this. But this is, is this a coin toss? I don't know. Maybe not a 50-50, but man, I'm telling you, Northside is good. But I'm going to go with the number one ranked Springville Tigers in a really interesting series at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Springville as well. You've seen Springville. I haven't seen them. I've seen Northside. You have not seen Northside. Springville's body of work, speaks for itself. Winning 25 of your 29 games. Northside was just on an absolute tear there for the first 2/3 of the season. They lost. They're sitting at 9 losses. They lost some down the stretch, but 3 of those were to Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, and I was at one of those games, and they were, one of those was they were close games. I think they lost one game to Sipsey Valley and then lost another to American Christian in their area series. So it's not like they've lost some games, but it's been to quality opponents. They're a really good team. They stack up talent for talent. I mean, these are 2 really talented teams, but I'm going to go with our number one team and go with Springville and to advance here. Could very well see it going 3 games. You mentioned Carter Samuelson. Austin Keitlinger is another hard throwing right-hander that Northside will roll out. They've got some other pieces as well, but ultimately in the end, I'm going to go with Springville to advance to the next round in a really, really tightly contested matchup.
I guess I talked too much. We're about 2 minutes behind at the halfway point, so I want to try to get us caught up right here. Moving to the south, you've got the Area 4 runner-up, Eufaula. They come in with a record of 8-18. They finished runner-up to Headland. They are at Area 1 winners Alberta, who come in with a record of 19-7. Alberta sits right outside of our top 10. They were able to defeat UMS Wright in a best 2 out of 3 last week. I know Brady Cole Harrison had a big-time outing in that win. Listen here, I think Alberta is a team to be reckoned with, a team that maybe that could be a sleeper in the South. I like Alberta here. I like them fairly convincingly in this first-round matchup with Eufaula.
Yeah, Alberta is another one of those 5A teams, and you're going to hear us talk about them. There's a lot of 5A teams that are not even ranked who have a real chance. You look at Alberta, 19-7. They've beaten Central Phoenix City in 7A. Like you mentioned, they beat UMS Wright. I mean, Alberta is a quality club and a team that we may not be given enough focus to. Obviously, I like them as well to get this first round series win over Eufaula and advance to the next round.
The runner-up of Area 6, Beauregard, they currently sit at 17-15. They are on the road at the winners of Area 7. Again, you mentioned this, the number of quality teams right outside. Here's another one, Demopolis. They come in with a record of 20-9. And I forget the kid's name, the arm
Jack
at the top.
Pritchett. Jack Pritchett.
Yep, Jack Pritchett. Yep, just got us a text talking about Alberta. Appreciate it. Jack Pritchett, it gives them a formidable number 1 at the top of that rotation. Demopolis is a team that, again, Austin just said it. You're going to hear us say this a lot about teams that could be ranked. Demopolis, a 20-win season at home. I like them this week over Beauregard.
I do too. I like Demopolis as well. I think they've won like 10 straight coming into this matchup, and their last loss was a 1-0 defeat to Fairhope. So Demopolis, another team who is a sneaky team to watch in Class 5A this year, and have a chance to make a potential deep playoff run. I mean, you're looking at losses to Oak Mountain, Northridge, 2 to Hillcrest, 2 to ACA. They're playing these top teams like we talked about with Northside in that part of the state. So Demopolis, certainly another team to watch. I like them as well to advance to the second round in Class 5A.
Another intriguing matchup in 5A. You've got Shelby County. They're the runner-up in Area 8. They come in with a record of 17-13 after playing a gauntlet of a schedule. They did finish runner-up to Briarwood Christian. No shame in that whatsoever. They will be traveling to Marbury. Marbury is currently ranked number 8 in our last 5A poll. Marbury comes in with a record of 24-5 after winning Area 5 over Holtville. Man, this is this is a big time matchup. I know you've got a ranked team here, and a lot of times you think, well, that's who's obviously going to win. Shelby County is battle tested. We've talked at a couple times about blue collar type teams that are tough, teams that show up and just compete. That's what you get in Shelby County. All right. Coach Hamrick is a good friend of mine. I love him. I hope he's not mad at me, but I went with Marbury slightly. Their body of work this year has been very, very impressive. But again, Shelby County is going to roll in there with some guys. Again, they're battle tested. Spencer Pennington, not Spencer. Cooper. Yeah, Spencer's his uncle, I believe, that played at Alabama. Cooper Pennington, two-way threat on the mound, big left-handed bat. Listen, this is going to be a war, but I went with Marbury barely. So give me Marbury to advance.
Yeah, I like Marbury as well. They've been getting some really good pitching from their pitching staff. Seth Turner, Benton Howell is throwing really well. Cohen Samplin, I think Sampley as well. They've got some, and they're a very senior laden team. Had a big series sweep over Holtville. Winning that area, being able to host this big playoff matchup against Shelby County to get this win. One of the, obviously winning 24 out of your 29 games speaks for itself. They've put together a quality resume throughout the stretch in Class 5A. I think they have a chance to make a real playoff run here, and I'm going to go with Marbury here to get a series win over Shelby County.
Yeah, again, that's a big-time series, though, no doubt about it. Moving right along, you've got – my computer froze up here. I'm back. Yep, I'm back. Yep. You've got Faith Academy, who finished runner-up to St. Paul's. They are currently ranked number 5 in our last 5A poll. They've been a constant at the top of that poll all year long. They come in with a record of 20-5. Again, they finished runner-up in their area. They're on the road at Andalusia this week. Andalusia has had a very good season. Listen, Faith Academy, this series will get started on Friday. Faith Academy is a team that we've had circled all year long. It's a team, we've talked about, we've talked about the Springvilles. We've talked about the Madison Academies, the American Christians. Faith Academy finished runner-up to St. Paul's in that Area 1. But Faith Academy is a team that I think they're a complete team. I believe they pitch it well. I believe, they offensively, they're tough 1 through 9. We do have them ranked right below St. Paul's. St. Paul's won that area. That's why. But I think Faith Academy is ready to go on a run here. I see them going deep in the playoffs. Obviously, a legit chance to carry that blue map home. Just too much Faith Academy this weekend. Give me the Rams to advance.
Yeah, I like Faith Academy to win this and like you said, make a potential playoff run not only this year but in the years to come, you look at Faith Academy, the last 3 or 4 years ago, winning state championships at the Class 6A level, have over the past few years may not have had the type of success that they're used to. Seems like they really reloaded their talent with a lot of some upperclassmen, but also some underclassmen as well that have really started to play some big roles. And they're very young, but they're very talented. And you talk about that losing that series to St. Paul's. They won the first game, and then games 2 and 3, both of those games were losses by 1 run. Speaks to how evenly matched Faith Academy and St. Paul's are in terms of just how talented they are. They're our preseason number 1. Really like Faith Academy this year, and think that they have a chance to make a real deep playoff push, and that starts this week with a win over Andalusia on the road.
Yeah, so we're both going to go with Faith Academy. We both really like them. Staying in that Area 2 and Area 3, you've got the runner-up in Area 3, Charles Henderson. They finished runner-up to Andalusia. They come in with a record of 19-13. They are on the road at number 4, St. Paul's Episcopal, which we just talked about. St. Paul's Episcopal won that area by defeating Faith Academy, a best 2 out of 3. Faith Academy comes in with a record, St. Paul's comes in with a record of 18-8-1. And as we've already mentioned, they're at number 4 in our last 5A poll of the year. Love Bradley Irish at the top of that pitching rotation. Love those guys that can really bang the ball around the yard in that lineup. Faith Academy, we saw them in the South Alabama Showdown. You got Edward McLeod. There's a lot of other guys that I'm leaving off. Don't want to get into all that today. We'll talk about that more if they advance. But I think too much St. Paul's this week. I like them. We like both those teams that qualified out of that region, Faith Academy and St. Paul's. So give me St. Paul's.
Yeah, you mentioned McLeod, John Stowers, Taylor Odell.
John Stowers. I'm sorry, John.
Taylor Odell, Brooks McDonald, and there are very few pitchers in Class 5A that I would like to give the ball to and say, go give me 7 more than Bradley Irish. That kid seems like a competitor. He's consistently won at the high school level, and he gives them a big time option in game 1 for their pitching staff. So for their big hitters that they have in the middle of their lineup and their ability to pitch it, I like St. Paul's as well to advance out of this first round matchup.
Yeah, I feel like an idiot. I left off John Stowers. My apology, John. But I think that tells you about the lineup, though. I mean, he's the headliner, but he's not the only bat they've got.
I wouldn't be upset with the Faith Academy St. Paul's rematch in the semifinals. I may have to drive those 5 hours down to go watch that one.
That would be big time. Yes, it would. Our next matchup, man, 2 more perennial state powers. You've got the runner-up in Area 5. That's Hopeville. Hopeville finished runner-up to Marbury. This year, they come in with a record of 14-14. They've won a state championship in recent years. They finished runner-up in 5A as well. I think back-to-back years, if I'm not mistaken. Back in the playoffs again this year. Coming out of a tough area, they are on the road at Briarwood Christian. Briarwood Christian has a record of 16-14. They won Area 8 this year over Shelby County. Again, man, 2 very good teams. Hard to pick against either one of these teams. Both of them sit right outside of our top 10. Really like Hopeville, another team, again, notorious for success in postseason baseball. But we've talked about it the last couple of weeks, man. We think Briarwood is a team that has really started to hit their stride of late. It's hard to go against them in the first round. Obviously, they're at home as well. I'm going to go Briarwood in a series that's going to be worth watching this week with Hopeville. Yeah. Give me Briarwood.
Yeah, it's never a good recipe for success when you pick against Hopeville in the playoffs. It seems like over the past 4 or 5 years, you can always expect them, no matter what their record is coming into the playoffs. You can always they're a team you don't want to see, on your side of the bracket go when you start the playoffs. But Briarwood Christian, like you said, has been a team that has really, may have scuffled out of the gate to start the season. but have really, have rolled through their area, have played really good baseball down the stretch. Have gotten some important pieces back too, I think, which has helped them out. Some experienced seniors, and I think that I'm going to go, as much as it pains me to pick against Holtville in the first round of the playoffs. I'm going to go with Briarwood Christian here to get a very competitive series win over Holtville in the first round.
Our next matchup, the runner-up in Area 7 is Jemison. Jemison comes in with a record of 13-12. They finished runner-up to Demopolis. They are on the road at the winners of Area 6. That's Elmore County. Elmore County comes in with a record of 22-9 and a number 7 ranking in our latest 5A class rankings. Listen, I've talked to Coach Dismukes a couple times from Elmore County this year. And by the way, if you don't know, Coach Dismukes is one of the good guys in the state. Very, very good coach, very humble, just a good person among a coach. But, he has never come out and said anything to me about how he thinks they're good. But, man, I can tell you, I think he likes his team. I really believe, because there's certain teams that you coach that you just really like, teams that are bought in, teams that are really working for one goal. And I think Elmore County is a team to be reckoned with in 5A South. And because of that, I can see them. I like them pretty convincingly this week against Jemison to make it to the second round.
Yeah, I really like Elmore County too. We have them at number 7. Which this year being ranked inside the top 10 in Class 5A is it speaks to how good you are. Elmore County has really seemed to get better over the course of the season. They're very senior laden on the at the plate especially, and seem to be playing their best baseball down the stretch. They've won games, a bunch of games in the row. I think they went up to Tennessee, faced some high level competition, especially on the mound. They faced Jamarcus Smith last week and was able to come out on top, score some runs against him. So what they see on the mound won't surprise them. They put themselves in the best place possible to get ready for the playoffs. Like you said, Coach Dismukes, you can always, Coach Dismukes does a great job. I'm going to go with Elmore County here to get a series win, and could see them also being another prime threat to make a deep run in 5A this year.
And we're going to wrap up 5A with yet another quality matchup. How many times have we said this in 5A? Again,
5A is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and we've talked about how deep this class is. Well, you're seeing it here. We're going to begin the playoffs with a big time matchup. Runner up in Area 1 is UMS Wright. They finished runner up to Alberta. We talked about them previously. UMS Wright comes in with a 15-10 record. After facing some tough competition in the Mobile area. They are on the road to the Area 4 winners, Headland. Headland finished the season with a 20-8 record. Again, there's another 20-win team outside the top 10. Both of these teams, Headland was ranked for a portion of the season. Both of these teams have been right outside the top 10 for the majority, if not all of the season. Again, just another interesting matchup in 5A. UMS Wright, the top of that order can really swing it. We saw them at the South Alabama Showdown. They struggled a little bit there, but we're facing the likes of Thompson and a bunch of larger schools that, they took their lumps a little bit, but look what it's done to them. It's prepared them for this first round of the area play, first round of the state playoffs. Headland, I think they're primed for a decent run. But one of these, this is another matchup where a quality team is going to be done in 5A. I'm going to side with Headland being at home, and I like Headland's overall body of work a little bit more this year. Headland is depending on a lot of younger guys. They've got some really talented young players. Now, there's a mix of older guys there as well, but that mixture there between older and young players at Headland, I think gets them over the top. I think they defeat UMS Wright this weekend in a series that wouldn't be surprised if it goes 3 games.
Yeah, you look at Headland, those upperclassmen guys, Wade Shelley, Bryce Gover, a few other guys, and then those younger players too. Like they've done a really good job kind of easing their way into the varsity level and seem to be acclimating well. Then UMS Wright, led by Ty Waters and Manning Amorde. You talked about their body of work, but I'm going to side with Headland. I like the Rams being at home. I think Headland, another team, the past 3 years, really talented, and they've got, like we mentioned, the good mix of upperclassmen and underclassmen. I think Headland's another program here to continue to follow over the course of the next few years, and if not this year, they have enough talent to make another deep run in 5A, and I like them to get off, just like you, to get off on the right foot here with the series win over UMS Wright at home.
Hey, Austin,
and that'll move us.
If I miss a pick in 6A, I'll be right back. I'll get caught up. You go ahead and get started with 6A. If I miss it, I'll catch up.
You're good. I'll go ahead and get us started in Class 6A. Our final classification in the first round this week, Class 7A, will get started next week. Still a week left to play an area series in Class 7A. We'll go ahead and get started in the North in Class 6A. Starting it off, you have the Area 12 runner-up, Clay Chalkville, who will be traveling on the road to the Birmingham area to face Homewood, the winners of Area 9. Clay Chalkville comes into the playoffs with a 7-15 record, had a big series win over Pinson Valley the final week of area play to wrap up that area runner-up in Area 12. Homewood, I think, swept their way through their area play, going to improving the record to 26-6. Homewood enters the playoffs ranked number 5, jumping up, I think, 3 or 4 spots in the final Class 6A poll. This series will get started on Friday at 4 o'clock at Homewood High School down there in the Birmingham area. I think too much Homewood here, led by Jack Ross, who was just announced this morning as the Mizuno Player of the Week for Week 8. Had a big week at the plate and on the mound. He leads that team along with Levi Nikolai. A bunch of other guys for Homewood have had big seasons. And then you look at Clay Chalkville. Nicholas Youngblood has had a really good season for them. Hitting in the middle of that order and catching behind the plate. He's a big piece for what they do. But ultimately, I think it's a little bit too much Homewood here. They've Coach Lee Hall, another highly respected coach in the state, does a great job. Has got Homewood rolling. They're 26-6. Give me Homewood to get a series win at home to start us off in 6A.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I caught the tail end of what you were saying. Clay Chalkville, Nicholas Youngblood really, spearheaded their way to an area runner-up. But I just Homewood has been as consistent. They've been as consistent as any team statewide all year long. I like Homewood here. A viable contender in 6A.
Yep. We jump to our second matchup in Class 6A in the North, and that is Southside Gadsden, the Area 14 runner-up. They'll be traveling on the road to Hartselle, the Hartselle Tigers, the top-ranked Hartselle Tigers. Southside finished just outside the top 10 in our Class 6A poll. They enter the playoffs with a 20-10 record. Hartselle comes into the playoffs with a 25-7 record. This series, as does every series, 15 out of the 16 series in Class 6A get started on Friday. This being one of those that get started on Friday at Hartselle at 5 o'clock. Southside Gadsden got off to a great start to their season. Finished as the runner-up behind Fort Payne. Hartselle winning that area, sweeping through the area. I think going 6-0, a perfect 6-0 in that area. I think it's too much Hartselle Tigers here. Consistent powerhouse, not only in 6A, but the whole state. Had a big win over Bob Jones last night. And, you don't want to read too much into that win against Bob Jones. Both teams trying to, limit guys ahead of Hartselle playing in the state playoffs, and Bob Jones having a big area championship coming up with James Clemens. But Hartselle was able to show off their bats last night. I know you were there at that game, and looks like Hartselle's clicking on all cylinders. Give me the Tigers here to get a series win in the first round.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hartselle is one of the handful of teams that can win it all. But you look at Southside, you mentioned it, has been right outside of our top 10 all year. I think they were like 17-0 at one point, 15-0, something like that. But it's a tough it's a tall task to go to Hartsville and beat them in the playoffs. You said it. I don't want to read too much into it, but Bob Jones didn't roll out just rinky-dink arms last night. I mean, they threw some arms, and obviously it's not area. They're both just using it for a tune-up, as you said, but no denying the fact that Hartsville scored 15 runs, and I don't think they had a hit from like their top. I think they only had one hit out of their top 3 or 4 hitters. Or maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly, but my point is there was production up and down the lineup there. So I like Hartsville this week. No offense to Southside, but Hartsville's they've got a chance. They've got a shot.
Yeah. In one of the better matchups this week in Class 6A, in our next matchup, you've got the Area 16 runner-up, the Hazel Green Trojans, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 13 winner, the Coleman Bearcats. Hazel Green enters the playoffs with a 25-11 record. Coleman enters the playoffs with a 16-14 record. Hazel Green. The series gets started on Friday at 5:00 at Coleman. Hazel Green. We talked about Hazel Green in our podcast. I know who that is. Hazel Green. The Trojans had met up with Buckhorn last week in their area championship and dropped those 2 games to Buckhorn. But we've talked about how well we think Buckhorn is playing going into the playoffs. Hazel Green has also been playing well, winning 25 games. We know we've talked about how talented they are. They've got some younger hitters with a steady mix of some upperclassmen, some talented upperclassmen offensively. Coleman, you've seen Coleman as well, and I know you were very impressed with them. They've got some arms: Fisher Dalkey, Bennett Johnson, and I forget the third, Cooper Lofton. Going to Chat Valley, so can swing it as well. And when you're going to play Coleman, they're tough 1 through 9, tough to strike out, hard-nosed team. Coach Patterson and Coach Wright, they both do a great job. These are 2 very well-coached teams. But I'm going to side with the home team. I'm picking Coleman here. It's always a good recipe for success when you pick Coleman in the playoffs, but this is a big time matchup. Hazel Green, would not be surprised if the Trojans went into Coleman and took 2 out of 3, but I'm going to side with the Bearcats of Coleman to get a first round win.
Yeah, 2 similar teams in my opinion, very similar. I don't know if it's just when I show up, but it seems like every time I show up, Coleman can really swing the bat, and they're really offensive. Hazel Green, we've talked about them, that young group of core talented players. They've got some 26s, 7s, and 8s mixed in with some seniors. I'm going to side with Coleman, and I hate to pick against Hazel Green because I'm the one been on here all year talking about how good I think they are. But I'm going to side with Coleman for 2 reasons. Number one, no offense, but I like Coleman's pitching staff a little better. Hazel Green has had some injuries in their pitching staff, and that's part of the reason why. And then number 2, you mentioned it, at Coleman for a state playoff series. It's tough there. So in 2 teams that are mirror images of each other, I'm going to go with Coleman.
In our next matchup, you have the Area 10 runner-up in Huffman, who will be traveling on the road to the Area 11 winners in Pell City. This series gets started on Friday at 5:00 at Pell City. Huffman enters this series with a 6-10 record. Pell City, off of a huge series win over Oxford, they come in with a 17-11 record and made their debut in the top 10 in Class 6A at number 9 this past week. Huge week for Pell City, man. We obviously think very highly of Oxford. Pell City was able to take 2 out of 3 in the first 2 games in that 3-game series to clinch an area championship, and I think they continue to continue that momentum this week in this first round matchup. I like Pell City pretty big in a series sweep to start their playoffs.
Yeah, no disrespect, Pell City huge this weekend. There's no doubt about it. So,
and that'll bring us to probably not arguably probably the easiest, the biggest matchup in all of the playoffs, all classifications. You've got the Oxford Yellow Jackets, who we just talked about, the Area 11 runner-up. They'll be traveling on the road to Mountain Brook, the Area 10 winners. This is a matchup that one of us definitely 100% will be at. Oxford enters the playoffs with a 22-9 record. They come in at number 10 in the most recent top 10 poll, but they were ranked inside the top top 3 for the majority of the season. Mountain Brook has been inside the top 3 as well for the entirety of the season, have been, I think, ranked number 1 at one part of the season. They enter the playoffs at 23 and 23-8. This series, like I said, gets started on Friday at Mountain Brook at 4 o'clock. You look at Oxford, may not at the plate. Their bats are about as, you can put their offensive lineup as good as anybody. A very offensive club. On the mound, led by Gavin Greiner, has really spearheaded that rotation, and they have seemed to have some guys kind of step up, two-way guys that'll give them some solid innings on the mound. Then you look on the other side, Mountain Brook, led by, and not just the Barnett brothers, but Caleb and Paul Barnett have been a big piece for them. Caleb throwing game 1, Paul starting at shortstop, anchor in the middle of that lineup, and Bryant Diddell on the mound as well. Man, this
the Housers, yeah,
as well. This was one of the best series in last year's playoff. I think they met up in the Elite 8 or Sweet 16. One of those rounds went to a game 3, and I think that game 3 was an absolute marathon. Oxford was able to win that series at home. I'm going with Mountain Brook at home to, I guess you could say, maybe get revenge for that series last year. The Spartans have been consistently one of the top 3 teams, as has Mountain Brook, outside of getting beat by Pell City last week. But Oxford has been there. They played the high-end competition in the state of Alabama. This is a back and forth series. I don't know who you're going to pick, but you could pick anybody, and I don't know how great you would feel about your pick, because these are 2 really evenly matched teams, 2 talented teams. You got the number 1 player in the 2027 class in Rocco Maniscalco for Oxford. Then you've got the number 2 player in the state in the 2027 class in Paul Barnett. So this will be a fun matchup to be at. Talent on both sides, but I'm going to go with the Spartans of Mountain Brook in a highly entertaining series in the Birmingham area.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that the Mountain Brook people have told me, and there's nothing, that loss last year still, and I'm not talking about coaches or players, I'm talking about the parents, that they still think back to that night of losing that game. And again, that's not that they're hung up on it or can't let it go. I guess they can't let it go, but that game has stayed with them for a year. I can assure you that. And you know what? You said you don't know who I'm going to pick. Well, the truth of the matter is I have not made my pick now. If you look at our sheet, I'm still blank in our sheet. But I'm going to go, and I wasn't sure who I was going to go with until you went with who you went with. And I think it's only fitting that this is a true toss-up 50-50 series. I'm going to go with Oxford. Mm-hmm. But part of me leans Mountain Brook. Well, if I went Mountain Brook, part of me would lean Oxford. I mean, it's just I've got to make a pick. And simply, we've probably only been different about 6 or 7 picks this entire podcast. And with this type of matchup, I'm going to go with Oxford simply because I'm not comfortable taking either one of them. And I think it puts a little bit more on the matchup if we split it. So I'm going to go with the Yellow Jackets on the road at Mountain Brook. But again, I'm not comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable if I was taking Mountain Brook either. But again, one of us will be there. We'll see it. So it should be a great and entertaining series.
Yeah. And last year and this year are 2 completely different teams, completely different season. But Oxford won that first game 6-5 last year in the playoffs. Mountain Brook won 4-2, and then that game 3, Oxford won 5-4 in 12 innings, scoring 2 runs in the bottom of the 12th. So yeah, hoping this series lives up to that one. So it'll be a great one to be at. Excited to be at that one.
Hey, and while we're talking about it real quick, I was talking to a parent from Hewitt Trustful yesterday, and I told him, I said, selfishly, we hope y'all and Hoover split the first 2 games. And he said, no, we want to sweep. So, and we want to go to that game 3 between Hewitt and Hoover. So, yeah, I had to share that with you, Austin.
Yeah. Our next matchup in the North, we've got the Area 13 runner-up, Mortimer Jordan. We'll be traveling on the road to the Area 16 winner, the Buckhorn Bucks. Mortimer Jordan enters the playoffs with a 16-15 record. Buckhorn jumps up to number 6 in this past week's Class 6A poll. They started off inside the top 10 of the preseason, didn't play their best to start out. I think they've gotten, I know Joshua Henson has gotten back towards the middle part of the season, and ever since then, the Bucks have really taken off. Braden Abernathy is coming off a big week at the plate. They've got Andrew Olkey as well. Seems like he's hitting home runs every single game and throwing. I think he threw a no-hitter against Hazel Green in their area game last week. The Bucks are rolling, and I'm going to go with Buckhorn here at home. Series gets started on Friday at 4:30. I think Buckhorn is as hot as anyone in Class 6A, and I think they get off on the right foot here to start their Class 6A playoffs with the first-round win.
I'm going with Buckhorn as well. We started talking about them about 2 weeks ago once I saw them at Madison Academy, and Henson was still working his way back on the mound. We knew last week's series with Hazel Green was going to be a war. Buckhorn won it convincingly on Friday night. Saturday, I think, went 10 innings, maybe more than that. You and I were game tracking it on our game changer. But I like you. I think that with the emergence of a couple more arms for Buckhorn to go along with the offensive capability that team has, they're going to be a tough out in 6A. Give me the Bucks to roll this weekend.
Our next matchup, you've got the Area 15 runner-up in Muscle Shoals. They'll be traveling on the road to Fort Payne, the winners of Area 14. Muscle Shoals enters the playoffs with a 15-10 record, finishing behind Hartselle in that Area 15. They'll be, like I said, on the road at Fort Payne, who defeated Southside Gadsden in that area. Impressive back half of the season for Fort Payne. They enter the season with a 17-10 record. This series will get started on Friday at 5 o'clock at Fort Payne. Another, a team that a matchup that may not be against two ranked teams, but I think this is a pretty good matchup. Going to be a pretty competitive matchup. You look at Fort Payne. They have obviously, like I said, winning that area over Southside Gadsden, a Southside Gadsden team that had gotten off to a great start. It seemed to be rolling down the stretch. Muscle Shoals finishing. I know they finished ahead of Decatur and Athens, right? Those are the other two teams in that area.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So those are two good teams. A good 4-team area. Muscle Shoals led by Dylan Olive. I'm gonna go with Fort Payne at home. Back and forth series. Really don't feel comfortable about either of these teams, picking either one of these teams. But ultimately, I'm going to side with Fort Payne being the home team, and so I'm going to go with Fort Payne. You're muted.
My dog was barking. I'm going to go with Fort Payne as well. This one's one I went back and forth on. Muscle Shoals, you mentioned, finished runner-up to Hartselle. No shame in that. You look at Fort Payne with that area series win over Southside of Gadsden, them being at home, that really nice park over at Fort Payne now, all-turf complex, or not complex, all-turf field. I'm going to go with Fort Payne as well. But again, I'm not going to be surprised if the Trojans go over and take care of business. But give me the Wildcats of Fort Payne to advance this week.
Our final matchup in the North, you've got the Area 9 runner-up in Minor, who'll be traveling on the road to the Area 12 winner in Gardendale. Minor enters the playoffs with a 5-18 record. Gardendale sits at 20-8 going into the playoffs and jump back into the top 10 in Class 6A, finishing at number 8. This series will be the only series that gets started on Thursday. It gets started on Thursday at 4 o'clock at Gardendale. Too much Gardendale, I think, led by Caden Combs. Gardendale seems to be rolling as of late, having big wins, and as evidence, getting back into the top 10. I think the Rockets are rolling. Give me Gardendale.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think this is a pretty substantial win for Gardendale. It's more than the Caden Combs show, but it leads them in hitting, frontline arm on the mound. When he's throwing, I mean, I think of late they've beaten Hueytown, they've beaten Thompson. I think they beat Mountain Brook. When he's throwing, they're going to be tough to beat. I think it's just too much Gardendale. Give me the Rockets to advance.
Moving along to the South, our final leg of our long podcasts. Starting it off at the top, you've got Wetumpka, the Area 4 runner-up, traveling on the road to Saraland, who won Area 1. Wetumpka enters the playoffs at an 18-12 record. Saraland sits at 19-9. Both of these teams just outside the top 10. Very impressive records, very impressive body of works. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30 down at Saraland at their beautiful complex down at their high school. I'm going to go Saraland here. But I think, Wetumpka off of last year's deep playoff run, Wetumpka led by Logan Fawcett, Mason Fuller at the top of that lineup, Tyler Johnson. They've finished runner-up to Stanhope Elmore in that series, but Wetumpka's playing really good baseball. They're a very competitive team, but you look at Saraland as well. At the top of that lineup, Sante McWilliams, and a host of other guys, Cooper Henson, Fuller Chisholm. I'm going to go Saraland being at home, but a very competitive series. I could very well seeing it be. But I'm gonna go with the home team in Saraland.
Two quality ball clubs. I agree with you. I think it's an evenly matched series. I'm going Saraland as well. The Spartans at home. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to be surprised if Wetumpka goes down there and wins this series, but I just think it's too much Saraland. And I've got to give a shout out. Probably shouldn't do this, but man, I saw Fuller Chisholm early this year in the South Alabama Showdown, and just watching his actions and his mannerisms and how he carried himself on the field, became a big fan of his, man. So you mentioned his name, had to throw that out there, but give me the Spartans to advance in a really good 6A series this weekend.
Our next matchup in the South, the Area 6 runner-up in Brookwood, traveling on the road to the Area 7 winner in Chelsea. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30 at Chelsea High School. Brookwood enters the playoffs with a 12-18 record. Chelsea coming off a huge area championship in that difficult Area 7 in the Birmingham area in Class 6A. They come in with a 19-9 record, and Chelsea jumps up to number 3 in our most recent Class 6A poll. They've been ranked number 1 for a part of the season, been for the majority of the part of the season, have been ranked inside the top 3. We talked about the arms for Chelsea. I think that those arms starting to pay dividends here in this matchup. They're a senior-laden lineup. Give me Chelsea, the Hornets, to start a potential deep playoff run, getting off on the right footing here with the series win over Brookwood in this matchup.
I'm not sure if you remember, but when you and I started putting our polls together at the beginning of the season, I told you I like Chelsea to win it all in 6A. They come out of that 6A Area 7 as the winner. You can't pick against them right now. They're battle tested. They have scheduled and played the best teams across the state. Give me the Hornets as well to advance to next week.
Our next matchup, you have the Area 8 runner-up in McAdory traveling on the road to the Area 5 winner in Calera. This series gets started on Friday at 4:30 at Calera. McAdory sits at 13-15, entering the playoffs. They finished as the area runner-up to Hueytown. Calera had a big series win over Benjamin Russell in the final week of the season to wrap up that area championship. They come into the playoffs with a 15-15 record. McAdory led by Aaron Bailey, in addition to a few others. Calera led by Dalton Ash. Matt Graham, I think, is a middle of the order hitter for them. Those two guys have had a good season. But I'm going to go with McAdory. You like Aaron Bailey on the mound in game 1, and then being able to generate runs in addition to a few of the other hitters for McAdory. Back and forth. I mean, this is a pretty evenly matched series. I'm going to side with the Yellow Jackets of McAdory to go on the road and get a big series win, and a series that I could see going either way, but I'm going to side with McAdory.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. And this is, you mentioned it. We both have talked about, we've struggled with pretty much the same picks. I'm going to go Calera. Winning that area over Benjamin Russell, I believe it was, impressed me. I know Calera had some wins early in the season that sort of piqued my interest when I saw him come across Game Changer. I think, again, being at home is important when you have two evenly matched teams. You mentioned Aaron Bailey at McAdory. I think Pearsall is out hurt. I may be wrong there. If I'm wrong, somebody can let me know. But I believe he's out. But I'm going to go with Calera here. I'm upset. I don't know. Being at home helps. We're going to split this one. Give me Calera.
Our next matchup, you've got Gulf Shores, the Area 2 runner-up, traveling on the road up to the Montgomery area to face the Area 3 winners of Pike Road. The series gets started at Pike Road on Friday at 4 o'clock. Area 2 runner-up, like I said, Gulf Shores enters the playoffs with a 17-12-1 record, while Pike Road comes in with a 12-17 record, but had really played well during area, beating Russell County and Rehoboth to win that area championship, a quality area against some quality teams in that area. You look at Pike Road, they're 12-17, but they've got a couple of arms led by Hudson Franks on the mound, Hunter Mathis, Hunter Morton as well. They can have a quality offensive lineup as well, but their pitching really stands out to me. Gulf Shores, Coach Jacks does a great job. They're an athletic team. Jacob O'Brien, a few other guys for the Dolphins as well. Not going to get much into players here on this episode. Another back and forth series I could see going either way up in the Montgomery area, but I'm going to side with Gulf Shores here. I think they do enough. They played a strong schedule. I think that they'll, the arms that they face from Pike Road, I think they've prepared themselves well for this kind of matchup, playing against some quality arms. I'm going to go with the Dolphins to go on the road up to Montgomery to take 2 out of 3 in a series. Once again, I could see going either way, but I'm going to go with Gulf Shores.
I agree with you completely in everything you said. This could be a toss-up. I've said this about a couple teams already. I think Gulf Shores plays the game with a little bit of a throwback mentality. They just get after you. They compete. I think that starts at the top. Coach Jacks coaches that way, which I love. I like Gulf Shores to go on the road and get this one. They're battle tested. They've played a bunch of good teams in tournaments down there. So give me the Dolphins to go on the road and get a hard-fought victory. Again, wouldn't be surprised if Pike Road comes out on top either.
Yeah, 2 good coaches. Like you said, we talked about Coach Jacks. Coach Brooks has done a good job in his first year at Pike Road as well, winning that area. So going to be a fun series to follow in the Montgomery area. Our last 4 matchups, starting off, you've got the Area 3 runner-up in Rehoboth, traveling on the road down to Mobile, the southern part of the state, to face the Area 2 winner in Spanish Fort. The series gets started on Friday at 4:30. Rehoboth, like I mentioned, finished behind Pike Road in that Area 3. They come in with an 18-9 record. Spanish Fort, winners of the area over Gulf Shores, McGill, Tulane, and Baldwin County, 4 quality teams. They come in with a 17-13 record. You look at Rehoboth, I think they've got a big arm. I think Jake Franklin, I believe is his name, going to Wallace Dothan for Rehoboth. And then Spanish Fort, led by Newton Gardner, Lakeland Ray, Nehemiah Hickson, a bunch of some other guys, Grant Howard. Spanish Fort being a team over the last few years that have really made deep playoff runs, and it seems like every year they may not come to playoffs with the flashiest record, but you can always count on them being a tough out in a 3-game series. And for that reason, I'm going to side with Spanish Fort here at home, getting a series win over a quality Rehoboth team, but Spanish Fort having that playoff success. Give me the Toros.
Yeah, I'm not going against the Toros this early in the playoffs. We've seen this happen before. They get hot when they're supposed to be hot, and there's no way I'm going against them. Give me Spanish Fort this weekend.
Our next matchup, the Area 5 runner-up in Benjamin Russell, traveling on the road to the Area 8 winner in Hueytown. This series gets started on Friday at 4 o'clock as well. Benjamin Russell finishing behind Calera in that area championship in Area 5. They come in with an 11-12 record, but have played some quality teams. They've beaten Central Phoenix City and have played a good schedule as well. I went to watch them play, and it's about the same kind of brand that Hueytown plays. Tough, hard-nosed, tough outs 1 through 9. They play the game the right way. You look at Hueytown with a 22-12 record. Coach Chandler for Hueytown does a great job. Coach Richie Brooks for Benjamin Russell as well. These are two well-coached teams who play the game the right way. I'm going to go with the home team here in Hueytown, another team like Spanish Fort, who you can always count on, being competitive teams in the playoff. And coach, both of these coaches do a great job, but I'm going to go with Hueytown at home, led by, likes of Braden McCrary, Jarrett Kahn, Baker Davis, a few of those guys for the Golden Gophers. Give me Hueytown in this matchup.
I'm going to go with Hueytown as well. And I've said this before. There may not be anyone across the state that gets more out of his players than Coach Chandler. Coach Brooks obviously does a great job, is highly respected, much like Coach Chandler. Two great men going at it here, great baseball coaches as well. But man, I think last year Hueytown proved me wrong a round or two, if my memory serves correct. I'm not going against Hueytown at home this weekend. I like them. Give me the Golden Gophers to advance to round 2.
And probably our second best matchup, definitely in 6A, maybe even the whole first round of the playoffs in 1A through 6A. You've got the Area 7 runner-up in Helena. The Huskies will be traveling on the road to the Area 6 winner in Northridge. This series gets started on Friday at 5 o'clock in the Tuscaloosa Northport area at Northridge High School. Helena comes in with an 18-13 record and jumped up to number 4 in the most recent 6A poll released yesterday. Northridge also comes in with a 21-7 record and jumped up to number 7 in Class 6A. So you got a top 7 matchup, another top 7 matchup in Class 6A. You look at Helena, and this was, even – the quality of teams in that area 7 with Chelsea, Helena, Pelham, Spain Park. You're wanting to win that area. You're wanting to make the playoffs, regardless whether it's area winner or runner up. But even bigger to be able to win that area, and the runner up having to go on the road and face a quality Northridge opponent. These are two really good quality, really good teams. Helena led by some juniors and seniors. I know you saw them last week at Spain Park. I don't think you had seen them up until that point. And I know you were very impressed with them. Their offensive lineup is one of the better ones in Class 6A. Braden Dockery leading it in game 1 on the mound. And then you look at Northridge, also upperclassmen led. You got obviously spearheaded by Evan Malone on the mound in game 1. They've got some other guys.
Is it going to be Dockery Malone in game 1?
That'd be a good one. A game that we're potentially looking at going and seeing possibly on Friday in the Tuscaloosa area. We'll see how it shapes out. Back in series, we both could see going either way. I'm going to go with Helena. Coach Guy does a great job, as does Coach Bell at Northridge. But Coach Guy, you love watching Helena play. They're a tough, hard-nosed team. They play the game the right way. They play the game hard. I like their offensive lineup. They're going to face a big arm in Evan Malone. But Coach Guy and the Huskies have prepared themselves for matchups like this, facing the quality of opponents that they're going to face here in this first round. I'm going to go with the Huskies ever so slightly going on the road. Mostly could very well see it going 3 games. I'm going to go with the Huskies in this big time matchup to start us off in the first round in 6A.
Well, as I did for our other 6A matchup between Oxford and Mountain Brook, if you look at the screen here, you will see I'm about to start typing because I have yet to make my pick because I wanted to differentiate than what you did. You went with Helena, and so you are forcing me to go with Northridge. This is a 100% toss-up between me, for me, excuse me. I love those Northridge arms. I think there's a lot of quality depth with Northridge. Helena, you mentioned it last week, man. I love the approach of the Helena hitters. They are tough to punch out. They show some toughness in the box. You mentioned Braden Dockery. There's some other pieces on the mound that obviously give them some quality innings. But I'm going to go with Northridge simply because you went with Helena. Both of these teams will be in our kickoff classic next year. Looking forward to having both of them. But we'll get a little sneak peek into them this year in I guess, maybe a 1A or 1B series in 6A. But because you went Helena, give me Northridge. And maybe one of us will be over there to see this series. So Are we ready for our final matchup of this long podcast?
What's that? 16. I'm trying to figure out how many. 16, 32. I don't know. It's
60,
a lot of
64. No.
No, it's got to be more than that.
Yeah, hold up. 96.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and wrap us up here in Class 6A, our final matchup of the episode. We've got the Area 1 runner-up, Theodore, traveling on the road to Millbrook in the Montgomery area, the Area 4 winner of Stanhope Elmore. This series gets started on Friday at 5 o'clock. Theodore comes in with a 12-16 record. Stanhope Elmore comes in with a 20-12 record, and we're just outside the top 10 in Class 6A. That's some discussion of being inside the top 10 after that series sweep over Wetumpka and the body of work they put together. Ultimately sit outside the top 10. I'm going to go with Stanhope Elmore at home, having the home field advantage. I think that they're led by Jackson Stallworth, Hayden Anderson, Jordan Jones, Tyler Woodham. A really quality team. Coach Schumann does a good job there. They're very beating Wetumpka in that area series, big series win for them, being able to clinch that area championship, play at home in this first round matchup. I think too much Stanhope Elmore here, and I like them to advance to the Sweet 16 in Class 6A.
If you listened to our normal podcast yesterday, you heard us say that Stanhope Elmore is a team that could, that is worth noting. And I think we may have given we may have let the cat out of the bag per se, that Stanhope Elmore, I think Austin's already made his pick. I'm going to go Stanhope as well. They have been playing, and that's a battle tested club in that tough area there in the Millbrook, Montgomery, Prattville area, right in there. They've had to really work to win that area championship. I think it plays off. Again, I think this is a club capable of going deep into the playoffs. And, as you know, playoffs are about matchups. You match up better with some teams than you do others. But I'm going to go Stanhope Elmore to win and advance to round 2. And that will wrap us up for this podcast. We are currently – we're about to wrap this bad boy up, but I know at one point we were at 4,000 live views.
4,400 right now.
We have 4,400 people following along. We greatly appreciate all of you staying with us. We made it through. Hopefully you made it through. Man, we are excited about this week. We are still finalizing where we're going to be. We have a good feeling where we're going to be at some points, but if games are still being played Saturday, where we're going to go. But again, if you see us, please come up and speak. We enjoy talking with people. Please don't be offended that we picked against your team. We don't care who wins, but we are looking forward to this weekend. Obviously, 7As are wrapping up area play with a lot of winners and runner-ups still to be played for. And then we get cranked up with the playoffs this week. So next week, we will not have our regular podcast, but we will have our second round playoff podcast where we predict, much like we did today. We do not know the date and time of that yet. We will let you know on our social media channels, but I hope your team wins. And we appreciate all of you for staying on with us for a little over 3 hours, but we wanted to really make sure we talked about each of the playoff series. I know Austin's got to wrap this up and get on the road and go see a game. But again, heartfelt thank you.
Get your brackets in.
Get your 100%. Get your brackets in. There is a game. There is a series that begins tomorrow. So get those brackets in. And for Austin Sharp, I'm David Sharp. We greatly appreciate you. Safe travels to and from the games this week. Hopefully we see you at the yard. Take care.